Tonight, April 23rd, 2026, join us for the 91st NFL Draft, this one being held from Pittsburgh, aka the 9-8 capital of the football world. For the FDH Lounge, we're live for this event once again, as we were last year, and we were from 2005 to 2009 on the Sports Talk Network. We're bigger than ever with our contributors coast to coast as we cover the sole franchise quarterback in this draft class, yet another stellar wide receiver class, top edge rushers galore, an absolutely historic group emerging from Ohio State, and so much more. Join us live tonight for the FDH Lounge 2026 Coast to Coast Pro Football Draft Night 1 Extravaganza.
And here we are for the Extravaganza. Hello, everybody. For all that have tuned in, we have an epic night in front of you and your FDH Lounge dignitaries at the outset. It will be a rotating cast of characters. I, Rick Morris, will be a constant. We have with us here at the top Sportsology proprietor, 11-time author, and longtime FDH Lounge dignitary Russ Cohen. And a lot of our dignitaries will be on through the course of the night around the time of the team that they follow the most, which, of course, for Russ Cohen is the Jets. He will be here to see Gang Green's first pick while they're on the clock. So, Russ, always great to have you on, buddy, regardless of the sport. Thanks for being here, my friend.
No, thanks. Pleasure to be with you on usually the worst night of the year for a Jets fan.
Well, I am a Browns fan in exile, but if I were still an active Browns fan, I would say same. Because It's, although as somebody who the last couple of years has elevated the Dolphins from my 1A team to 1, I could say the very same. New brain trust down there. They're bringing in the folks from Green Bay. I at least have a chance to hope for something a little bit better there. Although I
want to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
You did just go from a flawed team and flawed franchise to another flawed franchise. Because if there's anybody, I mean, basically, by you saying that you became a Dolphins fan, the 72 guys just toasted because they know there's no chance of them winning now.
That's right. That's right. The 72 Dolphins were a little before my time, but even as a little kid, I became a Dolphins fan secondarily. And so they have been a franchise that has seen better days, but bringing in the Green Bay brain trust in the front office and coaching staff, that should help, I would think. I'm not going to lie, though. It's one of those things where I'm sure you can imagine this. Like, in my heart of hearts, the notion of Chris Shula coming home to take the reins, it just felt right, Russ. Nothing against Jeff Hadley, but it just felt right.
I mean, the only way bringing in Chris Shula would feel right is if they play the Jets and leave the tarp off the field before a big game. If he does that, then I think it would feel right because then it would be like father, like son.
Yeah. It would be. And but the Dolphins, they'll be up, of course, for the 11th pick. Want to take a moment here because the NFL being the NFL, Goodell's got to be up at the mic, milking the moment here and talking about all the different ways I'm sure that they're going to monetize this year's draft. That's his favorite subject in life. So while they're doing that, and before we get to what the obvious first pick in the draft is going to be, let me bring up here and show everybody this is what you want to have to follow along with tonight. And it is something in the family here. It is Pro Football Draftology 2026. You can find it available on the main page at fantasydrafthelp.com. It is a collective presentation of fantasydrafthelp.com, the FDH Lounge, First Down Scouting, Sportsology, and After Further Review with Jones under the banner of the 21st Century Media Alliance. So what you want to do, go through this thing here. And again, draft rankings compiled by FDH senior editor Jason Jones. So when you get past the cover page, the first several pages, we're looking at a lot of position by position rankings. So that's what the front half of this thing, or front maybe third, I guess you would say, is. Then from there, you start to get into some other different features here. Draft priorities by team. That's on page 14. You may want to keep that handy through the course of the night. And the strength of positions in the draft. You'll want to be able to take a look at these as we're going along. We've got a draft play-along game that you can do. Team, coach, and player rankings in college and the NFL heading into this year. A look at this year's rookie fantasy class. Look at some top prospect highlight videos. You've got an early look at next year's draft class, which again, it's going to have all the quarterbacks that this draft class is not going to have.
Oh, I don't want to hear about it. I don't even want to think about it.
It will happen, Russ. Take my word for it. We have the top games of the 2026 NFL season and of the college football season. A disproportionate amount involving my dad's alma mater, Ohio State. I happen to believe that Ohio State, Indiana on October 17th is going to be the game of the year. But all of the games there are worth seeing. Page 18. Who comes out on top, myself or Jason Jones? You've got our mock drafts here on this page. Both of us saying David Bailey to the Jets with the second pick here.
You're
Russ.
both wrong.
And interestingly, both of us saying Jordan Tyson with the 16th pick. We did not compare notes. This is what we ended up going with here. Early predictions for the third NCAA playoff, the 12-team playoff for next year. The top 10 schools of the 2026 NFL draft, the top 5 conferences of the draft, an early look at our FDH UQB fantasy ratings for the season, our proprietary statistic ranking players off of what they did last year. You can get an early look at your
Where did you rank Geno Smith?
Geno Smith did not make the top 15, Russ Cohen. So, interestingly enough.
Are you sure?
If we did a recount several times over, I think it still wouldn't make the cut. And then they start on the same page here of the Jason Jones top 100 players overall. He has Jeremiah Love, unsurprisingly, as the top pick in the draft. That extends through the next couple of pages. And then you start to get into the prospects that Jason Jones loves on pages 22 and 23. Page 24, prospects that concern Jason Jones. So interesting to take a look at all of these things here on what his thoughts are. A blank draft tracking worksheet, so you can write it all down as you go along on page 25. Page 26, our early predictions for the 2026 NFL season. And Russ, you can see right here, I see your Jets being squarely in the mix for the Arch Manning sweepstakes next year.
You're actually less optimistic than me. I had them for 4 or 5 wins because they'll have just enough wins to keep them from getting Arch Manning. So however that happens, that's what's going to happen.
I think this year bringing back Aaron Glenn, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's the entirety of the reason that they brought back Aaron Glenn.
I would like to think that is, but it's not. It's it's incompetence that has done that.
It probably is. It probably is. But as we go through again, it's going to be a very interesting draft night. It's something where again, the media kind of makes it seem anticlimactic that there's really only one quarterback and he's going to go first, Fernando Mendoza. And this is a guy that, again, I've been high on this guy since very, very, very early. I was saying like by mid-October last year, QB1 in the draft, and I said nobody else is even right there with him. And ultimately, that's how it played out.
But where were you when he was before
at Cal? When he was at Cal, no, I wasn't in on him. But
I just wrote about him for a collectible site, and like it does make you wonder. It's like the stats were okay, and then he goes to Indiana, and it's like all the stars align.
Yeah, but they had a perfect system there, and it's one of those things. This is kind of like, and we're seeing a little bit more of this, I think, with college basketball and with NIL in terms of, I was just looking at something today, I think it was on CBS, where they were talking about next year's Florida Gators, that they're going to be really, really strong. They're bringing back Boogie Fland and a lot of upperclassmen, some even seniors on the Florida Gators basketball team for next year. Indiana, again, they got hardly anything in the way of 5-star guys, not much in the way of 4-star guys, a lot of 3-star guys, and a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of guys that have been there, that have been in the system, that are grown-ass men. So it's kind of funny that college basketball almost seems to be circling around to what the Indiana Hoosiers football team is. Normally, it would be Bobby Knight and the Hoops team leading the way in college basketball. This time, it's the Gridiron folks. But that's kind of what you're looking at here. And it really shocked me, quite frankly, when I was going through, when I was doing the predictions for my first predictions for next year for college football, and the degree to which almost nobody was picking Indiana to make it as far as even the college football semifinals for next year. And I'm kind of looking at it like, this is kind of like, to me, they're there until proven otherwise, because a year ago, I thought, okay, that was a nice story. They'll be on the fringe of the playoff, if that. No, they really consolidated in year two. Everybody's looking at it like, oh, there's going to be a lot of turnover. Signetti's made it happen before. I mean, I don't know how anybody can look at it. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at the other teams there, Ohio State and Georgia and Texas, there are many teams that are going to be right there on the cusp. But to me, it's Indiana until proven otherwise, for the very reason that you said. Fernando Mendoza goes there. And yes, he's part of a perfect system. But this is a thing where, again, FDH senior editor Jason Jones, who is in charge of our draft coverage, of our rankings, whatever, he's a little more lukewarm on Mendoza than myself, Chris Galloway, and some of the rest of us.
I'll just say this. I'm not a huge QBR guy, but he had a 184 QBR, and I'm not sure I've ever seen one higher than that.
Yeah, and like my thing is, name me something that this guy can't do. I mean,
I can name it to you.
Okay.
I can name it to you. Throw out a first pitch at a Marlins game. If you see the video.
Was it pretty bad?
It wasn't great. But again, it just shows me that he probably never played a lick of baseball, and it's completely different. And so I'm sure Tom Brady will say something to him because it's Tom Brady.
Probably will. But he's going to have Brady to learn from there. He's going to have Kirk Cousins to learn from there. And also, and we were talking about this on the draft preview last weekend, myself, Chris Galloway, Jason Jones, pretty much anybody in the Kubiak family. Doesn't have to be Clint Kubiak.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I go way back to watching the Kubiak family. They're very talented.
Yeah, they know ball. He's the perfect coach for having him and being able to coach him up. And Jason was just kind of like, well, I'm not saying that I got anything against him or that he's not a guy who can really do all these things, but I see him more as like a Jared Goff kind of a guy. I'm like, well, I'm a Jared Goff guy, so that's not a put down.
Why do we use that as a negative? Look, I understood when Goff signed that long-term extension, there was a young guy who was debating with me. Like he wrote a paper and he wanted to debate me on it. And I said, I think Jared Goff's a good quarterback. I just didn't like the contract, but he's a good quarterback.
No, I get it. And he is an excellent quarterback. And he is somebody that, again, much like Mendoza, it's hard to find something that he really can't do. In the case of Mendoza, 6'5", and he's not a statue. I mean,
he's 22 years old, like you can mold him.
Yeah, I mean, he can get out of the pocket.
He's not Chris Winkie where he's like 27, you know?
That's true. And also, and the whole thing too, and we were talking about this last weekend about the guy being a nerd. Like, tell me that teams aren't going to see that as a positive, especially being in Las Vegas, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You want a nerd. You want a nerd. You don't want anybody that's going to be in there.
He wants to be out gambling or carousing.
Yeah, where all the hooers at. You don't want that kind of stuff. You want a nice, wholesome guy like Fernando Mendoza, who just officially became the first pick whilst not being at the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. And I would say again, and like his family in the Miami area, and it's like, guy doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh. I, for one, can't blame him. Who can throw?
I like him. I just wish nothing but bad things on the Raiders. I always have. So that's just me.
I get it. They're not my favorite team either. But I will say it's hard not to see the pieces coming together there. You sign Lindbaum, you sign the best center in the league. You steal him away from the Ratbirds to come over there. You've got arguably the best tight end in the league, although I'll say maybe a tie between Brock Bowers and Trey McBride.
Yeah, I say it's a tie.
It's a tie, maybe. Ashton Genty, who is going to show much more than he did last year. What a flukishly bad year that was. I know FDH Lounge dignitary John Adams will never forgive him for tanking his fantasy team. But again, just happened to have him in the wrong year. He was a victim of circumstances. We see what Genty did at Boise State. He's a high-caliber guy. You've got pieces there. They need to beef up the receiving core. They need to beef up some other areas.
But I heard this when Derek Carr became quarterback. Oh, now they're going to be really good, and they weren't.
True, but I mean, I don't know that anybody necessarily looked at Derek Carr the way that we look at Mendoza.
No, but you know what? I could tell you this. You could draw a conclusion, a parallel for the Raiders and the Cowboys. They do similar things in the draft. They always draft great athletes, so they're always talking about these great athletes on their team, and the teams never gel.
That is true. And some of it is sort of the curse of the Davis family here. So we'll have to see what ends up coming together.
And before he turned into a bad guy. He was with the Titans that became the Jets, and he turned his back on the Jets and went to move to California. So yeah, it could be a reason I don't like him.
Sure. I mean, that's a very old school reason for why. Most of us, it just kind of dates back to the Raiders being dirty players back in the day.
That's a given.
Yeah. The whole thing of like everybody being roided up and basically trying to clothesline quarterbacks' heads off. Between them and the Squealers, I mean, it was who's who of who was taking steroids and intentionally trying to injure other players.
Dave Casper pretty much punting the ball downfield to get a touchdown, all that.
Which I will say, tremendous irony that like the one time in my life that I ever rooted for the Raiders in a game, or at least that I remember rooting for the Raiders in a game, it was the 2000 AFC Championship game. And what the Raiders had done to so many other teams was done to them. Yeah. Tony Siragusa intentionally, I know we're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but intentionally broke the shoulder of Rich Gannon with that tackle. No question about it. Intent to maim. And that was it. I
never really looked at it that way, but I could see it.
Yeah, you look at the way that he fell. There was nothing accidental about that, and we're not supposed to attribute motives to folks who have gone to the great beyond. But I remember what I remember, and yeah. So
look, if you're going to ask me, hey Russ, did you like John Madden as a coach? I'd be like, I hated him. I liked him as the on-air guy doing football games. As a coach, I hated him.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. That's entirely understandable. And again, the Raiders, an organization that in the 21st century,
a very hateable, easy to hate organization.
Yes, and a team that again never been the same since getting blown out in the Super Bowl, the 2002 season by the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah, I was down in Tampa for that. And
really?
Okay. Oh yeah. We were doing the NFL experience. We used to do we were in Tampa, we were in Jacksonville, we were in San Diego. We did like 3 or 4 of them with the NFL, and that was one of them. And yeah, that was that was interesting. But again, was I upset that this happened to the Raiders? No, I was not.
Well, and the night before the game, the Super Bowl being in San Diego, I'm glad I can't remember the guy's name because I've probably already hit my quota for disparaging the deceased one night.
It's Barrett. I forget his last name, but he was the center.
The center, yes. Some misadventures in Tijuana the night before, I believe.
Mexico, yes.
Yes, and so wasn't available. Kind of shades of what happened to the Bengals, I think, back in '89 in Miami.
That was with John Gruden as coach. He was also a very unlikable guy.
Yes, good old Chucky. And so that was a thing as Chucky gets his revenge on the Raiders for that trade. And it ended up being a very short-lived era there. In Oakland. I remember the next year drafting Rich Gannon way too early in fantasy and living to regret it. But it's just that marked the beginning of just the downhill slide that the Raiders have not come
Barrett Robbins. I wanted to get his name right since we are speaking about him, and he had passed away. So
Barrett Robbins, yes. So that's wow. For those that are pounding shots as we disparage the deceased, you're inebriated already. But
the numbers high, the numbers growing.
One wonders what the night has still in front of us. But So
I mean, Raiders, I could talk about Leon Hess. I could talk about. I could go on here.
Well, and I will say that something that I'm liking from the perspective of being the guy who's going to be in this chair all night long, with the NFL going to 8-minute intervals between picks tonight. And we've already seen now the second pick come off the board. I'll get to that in a second here. As somebody who I've been predicting to people today that notwithstanding a steady stream of cough drops as my condition is deteriorating, I fully predict that I will sound like late stage Marlon Brando by the end of the evening. The fact that we are already up to the second pick is lifting my spirits a bit here. That's and good. The pick, Russ, what would you, I know that there's somebody you wanted and somebody that you didn't want
Just
necessarily.
Say who it is. I don't want to go there.
Well, I can say that Jason Jones and myself in the mock draft are 2 for 2. David Bailey goes to the Jets. He's the more pro-ready of the guys between him and Reese.
Yeah, the Jets they're always so good at drafting defensive ends. And I'm going to root for the guy. I hope he does well. He wasn't the guy I wanted because I think he's more one-dimensional. than Reese, and I think that's the issue. It's not that he's a bad player; it's just that.
I think Reese has a higher ceiling, but I think Bailey also has a substantial ceiling, and he's more ready now. So that's the thing where the fact that he's more ready now is maybe not what you want if you are trying to tank for Arch Manning.
I mean, but again, if we're going to play the odds, like Will McDonald IV came out, he was supposed to be a world beater, and we talked about him last show on,
yeah.
He's got 21 sacks in his career, maybe like 21 and a half. It's not great.
Yeah. Well,
Bailey doesn't have far to go to pass him. Like he could pass him in 2 seasons if he's good.
He can, yeah. And so you've got there's if you watched what Texas Tech did last year again, that
I'm going to be honest and say I didn't, but I watched some video on him.
That was a beastly defense, and a guy that's going to get drafted later on, his teammate Rodriguez, was also pretty strong as well. And right now I'm seeing, and this is what we would urge everybody to do, by the way, is use your TV as the second screen experience and us as the main one. So my second screen here, the TV, they're interviewing him. And again, and I can see he's happy to be a Jet for whatever that.
Everybody's happy to be a Jet until like year 3 or 4. And then they all want to get the hell out.
Yeah. And again, based on the mismanagement of the organization, you can't blame him. But again, a good player. I'm way underselling it. He's an excellent player. I was going to a really good leader. I think I would say also too a Texas Tech Red Raider defense that was really strong last year. That was a strong NIL infused roster. They were the class of the Big 12 going away, and he was the biggest reason why. Ultimately, now
he is big and he is fast, so that's good.
He is, and ultimately, now I talked about this previously when we were doing the pre-draft show. Myself, Chris Galloway, and Jason Jones. The analogy that I'll make talking to you is that this is kind of shades of, and I know you don't follow the NBA draft as closely,
no,
but in 2024, the Atlanta Hawks ended up, you can see I'm getting the brain rot already. I had to struggle for Hawks. Got the first pick in the draft for the first time ever, to which the whole world was like, ha, you got it this year. Because there was no consensus player, and there was nobody that really was a strong pick in that spot. And when I compare that draft to this draft, all the picks after the Raiders is you have many excellent to great defensive prospects here, and a handful of other guys in here as well. Jeremiah Love, and I think also Tate, the wide receiver, et cetera. But it's primarily the defensive studs. But the teams like you, with the Jets, Russ, it probably feels like the 2024 NBA draft because you're sitting there and like, you want a quarterback. You want this,
correct.
You want that. You don't want to have to go defense.
Right.
You pretty much have to go defense unless you're going to go in one of these other spots here. You brought back Breece Hall, so you weren't going to go for Jeremiah Love. And I would have been critical had they done that anyways, because this is a thing that I feel like the Browns kind of invented over a period of time. Create a hole, fill a hole. I mean, if you had Breece Hall, what do you need Jeremiah Love for?
But Breece Hall will be there for 8 games and he's leaving, so we'll see.
Could be. And that's the thing, too. I do think that Love is probably a better running back prospect than you're likely to see in the next year or the year after. So on that basis, maybe you could have made a case for it. But this is a thing where, again, you had to take a defensive player like this. I really think there was a strong case to be made for Caleb Downs in this spot.
Yeah, I'm sure. I saw some video on him. He was really good. I mean, in the end, it's like The Rock would say, it doesn't matter what I think. It's Daryl Muji, and I don't know. Muji had an okay draft last year, wasn't great, and so I have to hope for better things, because if it's another like okay draft and not great, then maybe he didn't get the best guy on the board, and that's my only worry, is that he didn't get the best guy on the board.
Is our old honcho Phil Savage? Is he still doing anything with the picks there? I know he was involved for a while.
I hope not. Honestly, I hope not.
He was strong when he was in C-Town, but
that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. That was 20 years ago.
That's the problem, is the Jets rely on guys that have a great past, but not a great present.
Yes, got a great future behind them.
Yeah.
And this is where, again, this now starts to be where the draft starts to get away from what the projections were vis-a-vis myself and Jason Jones, because I don't think either one of us had the third pick going the way that it did with Arizona. And we have a gentleman who had been targeting coming in to talk about Arizona because that's his team. Didn't quite make it in by now. He will be in shortly. FDH Lounge.
Maybe his flight's late.
Derek Allen. He just texted me. He is a little late getting back to the home office here. And indeed, Jason and I both whiffing on this one here. He had it being Arvell Reese going third. I had it being.
Yeah, I wish you would have whiffed on the second, but okay.
I had it being Francis Maigoa, the offensive tackle from Miami. Instead, the Cardinals, and this is one where, again, this is a pick that was preemptively criticized. I don't normally get up and check. I really don't watch a lot of the panel shows on TV, but recently I've been watching a little bit before work of the Evan Smalls and Canty show, whatever.
Oh yeah, no, that's not bad. If you were going to say the Herd, I was going to be like, no, don't say that.
No, but like I will say this, that like I'm seeing this unfortunately named Cohen guy going a little clickbait with some of his takes, because he was like, there's no way you take this guy at 3. You don't take a player at this position. It's Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love goes to Arizona. He was preemptively critical of it. That like, why would you do that?
You can't be critical of this guy. He is a world beater. Like
he is.
He is terrific. If the Jets would have drafted him, I'd have been happy to.
Yeah.
You explained the reason why they probably didn't, and I agree with you that that's probably why they didn't. But he's a terrific player. Like if somebody's mad about getting Jeremiah Love, something's wrong with them.
Well, and again, I get the whole thing about positional value, but that's where the league is becoming too rigid about that, because there are exceptions to every rule. And it's the same thing with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs must wait until the back of the top 10 because he's a safety. No, he's a guy. I'll tell you this. Jason Jones says he's the best safety to come out since Kyle Hamilton in, I think, 22.
Oh.
So, I mean, if you're getting that, that's worth taking anywhere in the top 10. Because, again, you look at it, and this is where Jason and I now, with the Giants making the trade with the Bengals, we're both forecasting Downs to go 10, because it's like John Harbaugh wants his Kyle Hamilton in New York. Maybe he'll take him at 5 if he's afraid he won't drop to 10. But it's a thing where, again, everybody who looks at last year, the Super Bowl team, Nick Emanwari, as a rookie, the most instrumental glue player on what will probably go down as being a historically great defense. If you get a safety that can be that much of a difference maker and a glue guy, you go for it, Russ.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, I wanted the Jets to get Hamilton for those reasons. And they ended up going with Sauce. And I could see it in the first year that Hamilton, being as physical as he was and everything else, how good he was. So, yeah, Sauce was good, but he was a little soft, and now I think he's gotten very soft because he kind of got used to his ratings instead of like making plays, and so it makes a difference. If the Jets did have Hamilton now, it would have cured a few ills because he can cover up a lot of things. So no, a big safety is a big deal. I mean, I can go back to when I was a kid. I mean, I want to say like the Dolphins safety was like Jake Scott,
yes,
and that guy was tremendous. Like again, bigger names on that team. Mm-hmm. But he was the glue.
He absolutely was. He was a guy that was very, very strong. And when you look at it, it really is something where you get guys that are in that position. And that's a thing where I believe it was the case years ago. Now, he only sporadically lived up to it. But I thought Clinton Dix, when he was with Green Bay, was going to be one of those type players coming out of, I think, Alabama, of the military term of force multiplier, of somebody that can really make everybody around them even better. And that is something that we're seeing. I will say that with the evil NBA, by the way, scheduling my Cavs to play on draft night, out of the corner of my eye, I got the Cavs game on here as well. But somebody like James Harden, what he's been doing with the Cavs recently.
My FanDuel pick, by the way, was San Antonio because Popovic's hanging around. And
okay.
So I wonder if he's going to help them through. We'll see.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. They should do the smart thing. They need to rest Wemby for like whatever period of time. If they run him back in there, they're crazy. I mean, if you need Wemby to beat Portland, no offense to Portland, but they're not nearly ready. So so that's a thing.
Portland under new ownership too.
Oh, have you been seeing the stuff on Twitter about this guy? Holy crap.
I know.
Yeah.
I know him from the Hurricanes.
Yeah. You've seen it there, haven't you?
I've seen it. So he's doing all the same stuff that he did with the Hurricanes with Portland, Tom Dundon. That's what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it just.
No, I'm familiar.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about him and the Canes there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a known quantity, the kind of stuff that he does. And like why anybody would want to do stuff that way. Again, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. But that's a thing where, again, they're not nearly ready. We're up to now. I'm liking this pace, liking/loving this pace. The 4th pick now is in the Tennessee Titans with the pick coming in. And for Jason Jones and myself, we had both forecast Jeremiah Love being in this spot, so we're both guaranteed to be wrong.
This is the problem with mock drafts, yes.
We're both guaranteed to be wrong about how this is going to go. The Titans have been spending, I think, a pretty good, quietly good off season at filling spots here, at filling some of their holes that they have. And so that is, and they're hoping that, again, Robert Saleh on the second time around is going to be the guy. Man, I don't know that anybody saw this coming, but if I was to tell you that Cam Ward is the happiest man in Nashville right now, Russ, would you know where I'm going with this?
I wouldn't. I'm not an NFL draft expert.
Okay. Carnell Tate.
Oh, yeah.
So thereby saving the Browns from
to me, it could have been an offensive lineman too. That's why I didn't jump at it.
Well, this is what's hilarious. I was all queued up for the Browns to shoot themselves in the nuts by passing on him. Right. Now that won't, but
that can't happen now. So.
Well, and here's what I'm predicting, and when Bob Glassman is on shortly, we'll be commiserating over the Browns here. But I think they're going to reach for an offensive lineman. I don't think there's going to be value at 6. Although, again, if it's my goal from Miami, if he's still there, you're only 1 pick away, and it depends on if the Giants are going to go there. The Giants could go there just to keep Jackson Dart from fulfilling his Darby Allin-esque death wish that he seems to have. Somebody should chart the careers of those two guys side by side and just kind of see how they line up. But, getting another offensive lineman could be strong. There was a real school of thought, Russ, of the Giants potentially going for Love and pairing him with Scatabo.
No.
Right. Like,
that's not their style. That's their guy. Scatabo's their guy. There's no way they were going to do that.
Right. And I will say this, that for the whole sense of like, putting guys on the field at the same time, it never happens. And certainly a gentleman I'm about to bring in, Bob Glassman, certainly knows this, that when the Browns had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they never played them at the same time. So Scatabo and Love would not have made any sense had that been the case.
All right. I'm going to leave, Rick. You're in good hands. Have a good night.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, really appreciate you being in for the first part here, Russ Cohen.
Okay.
And may I say, by the way, I was I'm going to leave you with this, that this first segment that we did was, I'm going to say proactively or retroactively. Retroactively would be the word. The first segment would be retroactively brought to you by NHL Draft Buzz.
There you go. I appreciate that.
We're bringing you the utmost in NFL draft coverage tonight, but we've got the NHL entry draft coming up in late June. And there's only one place that you need to go to keep up on everything that you need to know. NHL Draft Buzz from Russ Cohen and the great minds that brought you Sportsology. NHL Draft Buzz builds upon Sportsology's tradition of creating unmatched NHL entry draft coverage since the early 2000s. Find them on the web at NHLDraftBuzz.com.
And Russ, can I say the only place that you need to go to for your NHL news, period. End of story.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. I don't do enough on Sportsology for all of that, but for whatever people come for, I appreciate it.
Well, you know what? Hey, while we're at it, this segment that we just did, also retroactively brought to you by, as we go to the thing here, retroactively brought to you by Sportsology. Sportsology is a new media pioneer, having presented news, reviews, and analysis across the sports world for over a quarter century.
By the way, this shot of Sonny Meta here, total luck. When I was on the ice shooting for when Florida won the Stanley Cup.
Uh-huh.
He just happened to be like the second guy with the cup, and players weren't really out there yet. So I'm like,
Okay.
all right, I might as well shoot him because I'll figure out who he is after. I knew the name, but I didn't know what he looked like because assistant general managers kind of hang out in the back office, and now he's running the Devils. So there you go.
Well, there you go. And for Sportsology, as we know, 11-time author Russ Cohen is the proprietor of the website that has worked the closest with the FDH Lounge over the years, and he and the entire staff are constantly devoted to producing only the best content, both written and broadcast. Find them on the web at sportsology.com. So, again, Russ, thank you so much for being here in the opening spot, my man. Much appreciated.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a great one, buddy. Thanks. The great Russ Cohen, everybody, and the great Bob Glassman coming in, a pioneer of NFL draft coverage, as we said during our show last year, a gentleman who was profiled in the Plain Dealer back in the 70s, the Cleveland Plain Dealer in town here. And, Bob, you being somebody that was on the early edge of this thing, and I remember in particular from reading that, you touting somebody that would go on to make some noise in the 1980s. A young Danny White was somebody that had caught your attention.
Correct. And in the year that, something I should have stuck with, Rick, as my senior project in high school, a decade ahead of Kuiper, Pigskin Bob, as I was known back then. My pick in that draft was Ed Too Tall Jones.
Yes, I remember that as well. You were on him. Yeah. You were on this. You've been a guy, again, a pioneer in this space. And you were somebody with excellent insights in so many of these different areas. And again, I want to bring up here. So the next segment that we got going on here on the show, I'll stop doing these retroactively and remember to do them in real time. So our next segment that we do is brought to you by, that would be Comtrol. Comtrol is a unique company in the technology and communication space, serving as a consumer advocate to help you obtain the best value possible, keeping your prices down and your quality of service up. That's what Comtrol does in this very challenging inflationary climate, and they've done it for decades. Check out the company mission, philosophy, promise, and so much more at Comtrol.com. Great folks at Comtrol, Bob Glassman, as we well know.
Thank you. Doing important things instead of this silly stuff, which is really important.
Well,
millions of fans around the country.
It is, and as we go to, you mentioned that as we go to something with a tad more mirth to it as well. This segment brought to you also by, we will bring this up here as well. This segment also brought to you by the Take Your Shoes Off podcast. Take Your Shoes Off is a weekly podcast from comedian/writer/actor Rick Glassman with a wide range of guests and an equally wide range of tone. This show brings you something new each and every week. Find Take Your Shoes Off on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So got to get that in there as well.
Not Rick, not that my nephew needs any more publicity from me, but he won 2 Webbies this week, which are a podcast award from, Webby, like Emmy, and for being a guest on a podcast and for his TYSO podcast himself. So
excellent.
And he knows nothing about football. So that's probably why he is so good at what he does.
Yeah.
Spends his time doing, productive things.
If you can just blank out this kind of stuff, and especially any kind of Cleveland Browns stuff. I will say, we were joking about this before you came on, Russ Cohen and myself, that with Tennessee at 4 taking Tate, and I was like, this is hilarious because they saved the Browns from making the big mistake of passing on him. They were going to shoot themselves in the junk by passing on him, reaching for an offensive lineman in this spot, and taking some schmuck wide receiver at 24. Well, now they're going to do it, but they can say, well, our hand was forced. We wanted Tate, but he wasn't there. So, that's my cynical read on it, Bob. And history tells me that you'll be equally cynical on your take.
Well, to be cynical about whomever the Browns draft is like saying 1 + 1 = 2. So,
yes,
we have the most underutilized Harvard grad ever, or the worst utilization. I mean, but as we're talking, getting ready for the 5th pick, or if it's already in, you will know that. But
okay.
Certainly my projected pick for the Browns includes a trade and somebody that nobody else, and I'm not doing it to be exclusive or to be one off or whatever, but truly I believe in drafting at any point in the draft the best player at the best value at that time. And again, as we've talked about, I think the Browns are in a position like Noah's Ark. We need two of everything. But before I go forward in it, I have to say that I'm talking to you from Dublin, Ohio.
Yes.
It is the home of Luke and Lily Vicari.
Okay.
My grandchildren, the VIPs that are here, and Grandma Gloria's here, and their mom and dad, Nick and Ariel, are here, and wanted to bring up that ties into some past Browns draft lore.
Okay.
The good part of that is in the 2007 draft, with I think the third pick, we drafted an offensive tackle by the name of
Joe Thomas.
That was a great pick, Hall of Famer.
Yep.
But later
I was
on,
up at Shula Steak for the draft show that day.
That's right.
Network, yeah.
And later on, that we had a second pick in the first round, and from where my grandchildren will be going or maybe going to high school in Dublin. Dublin has 3 high schools, this one being Dublin Kaufman High School. The Browns drafted a quarterback later in that 2007 draft. Do you know who that might have been?
From the hint that you gave me the other day off air, yes, Brady Quinn, currently host of, I'll say it, a Good Morning show on Fox Sports Radio, him and the other 2 fellas there. And I will say, during the draft that year, so we got it on the big screen at Shula Steak too. We're watching it and doing the panel show, and he's looking increasingly forlorn in the green room as he gets passed over and passed over and passed over. And it was one of those things where, and the atmosphere of the time with the station of sometimes, to be honest with you, kind of it came a little bit of like, can you top this as far as like objectionable observations to be made? So he's sitting there with his +1, and I was looking at it and I was like, you know who's really not liking it right now is the Nicole Richie looking gold digger sitting next to him. She's really looking cross right about now. So I remember taking an unwarranted shot at that young lady in the heat of the moment, getting a laugh. I will say also, too, there's a bunch of us that have a picture that still exists, I think, on Facebook on a couple of our pages with Jason Wright, who a very unusual trajectory for an NFL player. So once he retires as an active player, goes to work for the then Washington Redskins, and a lot of times players rise up in the front office on the personnel side. He'd gone to, I think, Stanford, so he was like a legitimately smart guy. He became the president of the team, but on the business side. Like, I don't ever remember a player doing that before. It was an unusual trajectory. Very nice guy. It was nice getting to meet and pose with Jim Chones also that day, too. That was pretty fun. That was, we were all marking out.
Nice career himself.
That's right. And he's
on the Cavs radio network.
He's just retiring from there, I think, and going to be doing some other stuff with the Cavs as well. But yeah, I think he's going to be hanging it up as an active broadcaster after this season. But yeah, that was those were the days, so to speak, with the Sports Talk Network and doing the live draft shows. And that's where, again, it was such a pleasure to bring this back last year to be able to do this with, again, some of the old STN crew, and that's kind of like the heart and soul a little bit of what we're doing here between, you know, you and Chris Galloway and Jason Jones and some of the other folks, Ben Chu, but then bringing in some of the other friends that we've made along the way as well, like the aforementioned Russ Cohen, who was actually a part of, I guess he was a part of the show back then too. He was the first post-original dignitary back in the day. Now, the pick that was just made for the Giants, they took Arvell Reese there at 6, and we have a trade.
We
do have a trade,
which was part of my projection.
Okay,
I mean number 6. I mean the Browns
at number 6. So the trade is the Chiefs have moved up 3 spots. The Browns now move back 3 spots, and those war criminals just took it off the TV here before I could. I think there's also a 3rd round pick, and I think it's either a 5th or 6th if memory serves. But they did pretty good for moving back 3 spots. And I will say again, because I think they're going offensive tackle, there's no value at 6. I'm not sure there's value at 9. Although, again, if you were to take Magoa out of Miami at this spot, that could have, the fact that he's still on the board, maybe that could have made sense here. One wonders who the Chiefs are coming up to get. This is going to, and there's Goodell at the podium right now. And, wow. Good old Mansour out of LSU, the cornerback. He was probably still going to be there at 9. I gotta say. This is funny. This is funny. Jason in the mock draft had him going 9. I had, you know what? I had him going to New Orleans at 8. I stand corrected. If they wanted to make sure they were going to get him, this is what they had to do. After
trading McDuffie and his teammate to the Rams, they wanted to make sure that they fortify that position.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a smart move. They did need to fortify at cornerback. I could have seen him going a couple of different ways here. That's a thing where you've already got Chris Jones anchoring that defense as, I think, the hands down second best interior defensive lineman of the 21st century.
With probably another year or two at least of great play left in him.
Yeah. So to get a guy like Downs on the back end of the defense here, and being a guy that, could be a glue guy on the defense. Again, I said this before when Russ was on. I'm going to keep saying this all night and making the comparison here. Nick Emenwari, I think that just shows the value of what these guys can do. A guy who, as a rookie, was the, perhaps the most valuable player on an all-time great defense this year, holding them together, getting it done. For what it's worth, Jason believes that Downs is a better prospect even than Emenwari, and probably the best safety prospect since Kyle Hamilton in 22. So, that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. If you're saying somebody could be better than Emenwari.
Agreed.
Yeah, because it's either him or Hamilton right now that's the standard. Now, I will say this. At 10, I think Harbaugh is praying that Downs drops to him. He wants his Kyle Hamilton in New York. And I think that might have been part of the reason for making the trade here, is the chance to be able to get him. But the Browns trading out of this spot is actually far more crafty than I would have given them credit for. I must admit. I thought they'd reach for an offensive lineman in this spot. It could still be a reach at 10. If Magoa is gone before now and then, and they still want to go offensive lineman, they should probably look to trade back again. But what are your thoughts, Bob? I'm surprised in a positive way for them, and I say this as somebody that's not invested in them at all emotionally.
Yeah, I used to be. It's a sliding scale, and it's not going up.
Right.
Rick, my original thought was they would trade down to around 12, and to me select who is the can't miss offensive line prospect in the draft, and that is Wane from Penn State.
Yeah, he's really good.
I don't care, how did Chris Jones, Aaron Donald make names for themselves? They weren't doing it against offensive tackles mostly. Right. They were doing it up the middle.
Right.
And quarterbacks get very much dislike getting rushed up the middle.
Yeah.
And having to roll out. That, to me, Wane exemplifies somebody who is steady, mean, can play his position tremendously. And I thought the Browns would trade back, and they still could, to 12, because I'll leave it with this as I see we're bringing Chris on. If it goes to 14, rest assured that is a Ravens draft pick.
Yes. That was my answer to who is the league going to let unfairly fall to the Ravens this year, as the league always
exactly like Hamilton was when he was chosen. And Ed Reed. Okay, I'll stop there. We could spend the next hour going over people that have fallen to the Ravens and Steelers before Khan took over.
Patrick Queen was one of them as well. I mean, it just keeps happening. But that's the thing where, again, if the Browns were to take him in that spot at 12 or 13 or whatever, if they trade back again, Chris and I talked about this. Of course, the great Chris Galloway joining us now. Chris, Jason Jones, and myself on the draft preview that we did a couple of days ago. that sometimes you have to throw positional value out the window. That when you're talking about downs, don't grade him by every other safety. When you're talking about Love, don't grade him by every other running back. And I think in the case of this guy, I think it's the same thing. I think as a guard, he has value there because I think he's going to be a difference maker. Chris, it might be a little bit steep if they took him at 9, but what would you think about if they moved back a few more picks? I think that's a guy. You look at the history of Bitonio with this team, enough said.
I wouldn't be unhappy. As you know, I was pounding the desk when we did the preview show for linemen, tackles and guards. I mean, I know we're paying a couple guys now in the offseason to come in and play guard and play right tackle, but the reality is you can never have enough. You got to be 10 deep. And so, you know, I'm still a Fano guy. If they stick, he's still my number one tackle. I do love Freeling, but I also recognize for Browns fans, Freeling is a guy that you're going to have to have patience for a couple years as he gets some starts underneath him. So, there's a bunch of different ways they could go here. And trading back again, as Bob said, is not out of the question.
I think that is very possible. The pick that was just in for the Redskins, I'll still call them the Redskins. Jason Jones pulls ahead of myself in the mock draft sweepstakes here. He got this one right. I didn't. Sonny Styles ends up going to Washington. I had it being Arvell Reese. I had Styles going 5 to the Giants. So it ended up being the other order here. So Washington, in what has been, it's kind of under the radar what they've done, what Tennessee and some of these other teams have done. Some of these teams have had a nice offseason quietly filling holes. And Washington did this the same offseason that they drafted Jaden Daniels. And everybody ascribed their enormous improvement that year to taking Daniels, but they did the quiet work in the time leading up to this. And this is a thing where, Chris, I feel like history is kind of repeating itself. Washington's having a very good offseason, and you add Styles to the mix, and that's just going to, do an awful lot for that defense, which was very justifiably maligned a year ago.
I mean, there's a lot of people that think he's the best player in this draft. That I know Love, obviously, for a lot of folks, but a lot of people think Sonny Styles is going to be that guy for 10 years, is going to be the do-it-all linebacker, that guy in the middle that you can move all over the chessboard. I mean, he's so fast, you could probably even potentially move him into, if you had to, move him into safety on a couple of plays. The guy is so fast. So,
yep.
There's nothing but talent there. And that was a real hole for the Commanders last year. And so, a great pick by Washington.
It really was. And Bob, I know the fam is awaiting you here, but you're a big authority on Ohio State. I got to pick your brain on this one. What do you think about Styles going to Washington? It seems to me that he can really do a lot to lift up that entire defense.
I agree with Chris, and I think he would fit in with any team with half a defensive coordinator, because you can scheme him in so many different ways that he will be. I agree with Chris, period. He'll be a great pick. Sans injuries, which he hasn't shown. Chris mentioned he started out like his brother did at Ohio State at safety before he moved up a little bit more on the linebacker side. And great, a good pick, sound pick, one that nobody can look back and complain that he was, you can't argue with it.
Well, I would agree with that. I think it's an excellent pick. I think you cannot argue with it, is the same thing I would say. And Bob, we send our regards there at your little draft party you got going on in the great Dublin, Ohio here. So send our best wishes to your grandkids, your daughter and son-in-law, the great grandma Gloria Glassman, past participant in the Rich Eisen Celebrity Fantasy Football League. We have to say that. So our best to all of them, Bob. Thank you so much for being on tonight, buddy.
Thanks, bud. Take care, Rick. And again, Juane's my man. But if anything, okay, before I go, year two, who do you think we'll get if he's available at 12, or what position do you think? Give me your projections before I go.
I'm going to say Freeling. That's who I had him taken at 6. I'm going to say Freeling. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's Freeling. I think they love the upside. I think that they love this kid's all his metrics, his measurables. All the analytics point to him being, a guy that's going to be able to start for 10 to 12, 15 years. Another Joe Thomas this team has been looking for. And
But
again, going to have patience for a year or two. But I think that they are drafting long term.
but guys, one last thing, and then I will check out. Did he was he sound enough? Did he do enough in college to show that you're not projecting him based on measurables?
I think what he did in the SEC, Chris has probably seen more tape on him than I have, but basically, you don't exactly, not every year do you run the gauntlet in the SEC, but I mean, they played a pretty good schedule last year and then going into the playoffs as well. So, I mean, I think he did it against strong enough competition to say that, is there something of a projection for what his upside is going to be? Yes, but I would say that he's already also shown you a good amount to where you could justify taking him in the first half of the first round. How would you say it, Chris?
It's actually mostly projection.
Okay.
But I would also say that, we have a track record on things like, knowing on arm length, size, height, weight, how fast his feet, he's so athletic in his feet. They're so fast. He's got a great first step.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that is admittedly projection.
Yeah.
But he did start, 17 games in the SEC.
Right.
And, that takes those projections and makes you feel like, okay, we saw it on tape.
Right.
So we don't have we don't have 30, 40 starts, but we have, we don't have the Blake Miller, 50 some odd starts, but we have enough to be able to say our analytics says X and what tape we do have backs that up. So
yes.
Therefore, I think it's one of those things where the projection then becomes a little more comfortable. If he had been showing those analytics, but he played at, OU in the MAC, you'd say, I'm not really sure. He started 20 games at OU. The analytics and the metrics seem to be there, but we're just not sure. He did it at Georgia. And so even though it's a small sample size, when you combine those two, I think it's a safe projection.
Well, right. I will leave you guys with that note, feeling better if we take him, because I have, my, again, ad nauseum about Andrew Berry, Misters Morris and Galloway, I'm much more comfortable with. Guys, have a great show. Thanks as always, and talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you so much for being
I'll leave
here.
You the hey now that I didn't get him beforehand. So have
That's
fun.
Right. That's right. One of the pioneers of NFL draft coverage going back to his scholastic days in the 70s, Bob Glassman, who, as you said at the outset when you came on, you were touting Ed Too Tall Jones in the, what was it, the 76 draft?
It was a 74 draft.
74 draft. That's right.
And I just should have stuck with that senior project. And boy, anyways, we'll go back to talking about the Browns or whomever the whole draft. We got the whole draft.
All righty.
Enjoy, guys.
Thanks,
you.
Bud. Always a pleasure. The great Bob Glassman. Always a joy to get him in. And so, Chris, the Saints are about to be on the clock here, and the Saints are going to be making their selection. And
I'm going to guess it's Jordan Tyson, but maybe I'm wrong.
I had him going for Mansour, so that won't be the case. Fano was the pick for Jason, so I know you would be very distraught if that ended up being the pick here. So that is
no. I mean, I'm comfortable with Freeling. Fano was my pick, for more immediate returns. But I like if it ends up being. Yep, I was right about that. Jordan Tyson.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't seeing a lot of rumors about him going there. What were you basing it on? This is interesting. You nailed one that seems a little bit sort. Not that they don't have a need at wide receiver, because they do, but what made you guess accurately that this was going to be the pick?
For me, it was just the need, and who, after Tate, if it had been Tate had still been on the board, I would have guessed Tate.
Okay.
Especially their proclivity for Ohio State wide receivers. I just thought that they would go with they really like the quarterback they got last year, the Tyler Shook kid. And I just think they want to get him. They want to get him a weapon. And look, if Jordan Tyson can stay healthy, he may be he's Justin Jefferson. He may be the best weapon in this class, alongside Jeremiah Love. The big issue with him, as you know, is can he stay healthy and stay on the field? Right. If he's healthy and on the field, he is a game changer. He is a guy that creates nightmares for defensive coordinators.
He is.
But can he stay healthy?
That's a great question. Yeah. You have to wonder that. You have to wonder, what he's going to be able to do. And because again, what is the cliche out there that the first kind of availability, the most important kind of ability is availability. So yeah, if you can't hold up, then that is going to be a real big problem. The Browns pick is in from what TV is showing, which again, as we said before, again, our advice to everyone out there is use TV as your second screen experience, with us as your first screen experience. So that is as the Browns come up. So they could go either way on the offensive line at this part, which is actually making me believe that I'm probably going to be right. If you're saying, because I don't have a strong feeling about either of these offensive linemen, but if you're saying that Fano is the clearly superior choice between the two, then I see them not going that way.
He's the superior choice between the two. I think both of these guys can have long, successful careers, right?
Yeah.
I think Fano is the guy, if you want to plug in that left tackle this year, he's more ready.
Okay.
So what are the Browns trying to accomplish this year?
Sure.
I think it's also a clue. If they pick Freeling, they're drafting for the future. They're not drafting for 2026 season. He's going to play. He's going to struggle at times. Freeling will. And you're going to take your lumps with him as he gets those game rep experience underneath his belt. Long-term, Freeling may be, the next Joe Thomas for the Browns.
Right.
And so I think long-term, again, if you're willing to give it a couple years, he's probably the better choice. If the next 2 years really matter to you and you're trying to get into the playoffs, Fano might be the way to go. So this will be interesting in terms of what they do.
Okay.
In terms of prototypical size, Freeling is, he is that guy more than Fano.
Right.
Now watch, they're going to go and take Caleb Downs and just,
sure.
make us all look silly.
Now, again, if they do, right? If they do, there's a case to be made for that. There really is. I mean, you could look at it and you could say, that in terms of what he can do for their defense, in terms of just being that kind of, as I use the term ad nauseum, force multiplier, you could make that case. But again, as far as I
think the Browns have got to be about picking the best guy on the board for them. That's what they got to be about.
Yeah.
They can't be about, only drafting need. You've got to start getting difference makers.
Right.
And I see some of the guys in the background, getting really fired up. It may be Downs.
Okay. So you're speculating that could be the case, huh? Because
I was watching the coaches in the background, on the TV here, and I was like, oh, look at the coaches that are fired up. Like the DC was fired up. I mean,
okay.
When the DC's in the background, high fiving and fist pumping, I think, okay. Maybe it's a defensive player.
Okay. Well,
here we go. We'll find out in 2 seconds.
We shall see. Oh, there you go. You got your pick. Okay, you got your pick. Okay, all right. Your thoughts.
Again, I thought he was the guy ready to go.
Okay.
And I know a lot of guys, a lot of people were worried about his arm length and all this stuff. I get it, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's like 90 some odd percent of pass protection. It's not about that last inch and a quarter of your arm and therefore your fingers to stop, the Max Crosbys of the world, right? I
Right.
mean, it's about your athleticism and your ability to get in the way and put bodies on them and to do that sort of thing. And
Right.
look, he's done it. And I know this was a negative for a lot of people. They're like, well, some people project he's going to be a left guard. The Browns have made some historically bad picks in the first round.
They have. Mm-hmm.
If the worst thing that happens is he ends up being a Pro Bowl guard and he ends up becoming the next Joel Bitonio,
mm-hmm.
It's not a wasted pick.
Okay.
Right? So I that actually makes me feel better. You're drafting him to be a left tackle. He can play it. He's athletic. If somehow the calculations on him are wrong and you get a 12, 13-year Pro Bowl left guard,
mm-hmm.
then you haven't wasted a pick.
I would agree with that.
There are a lot of Browns fans that would sign up today if they knew they were, in the first round, they could draft Joel Bitonio.
Yes.
For 12 years. They would say, hell yeah, sign me up.
I would agree with that.
I just, there's been a lot of criticism in the last week about, well, if he's going to be a guard, what a wasted pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's not a wasted pick.
No, it's not a wasted pick.
Look, the Giants take a guy who other people think could end up as a right guard.
Right.
Because of the same measurables.
Yes.
His arms. Oh, he's not athletic enough. Oh, I don't know. I watched Mayoga. I watched him play all season long, man. I watched him dominate.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him shut guys down.
Yeah. I feel like there was a case to be made.
I watched what he did to David Bailey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that would have been my pick, I have to say. I mean, in this spot here, I think that might have been the direction that I might have gone were I them. But
the only reason he wasn't mine because he's a right tackle. Fano has got quicker feet. He's a little more athletic. Fano can play left. He is. Mayoga is a right tackle.
Okay.
And I thought that for the Browns, you had to go left. You just had to go with a guy that was going to play left tackle.
Okay. I mean, there's something to be said for that, sure. If you think he's more, I don't know that I know enough between either of them to have a strong enough opinion about who's more likely to be able to play at left tackle, but that would be something that would be I guess to a certain extent, and we don't have him on yet now, he will be on a little bit later. I do think I remember Jason Jones saying that he was a little bit dubious about Fano being able to play left tackle. So that's where, if I were somebody that had even the slightest emotional investment in this team at this point, I'd be very glad to hear what you're saying, that you don't agree with that necessarily. So we'll have to see on that one here.
I like a guy that can potentially play more positions than one that I know is going to just be a right tackle. That's all. That's why he would have gotten my. And again, I love the player. I watched him dominate.
Right.
I watched him dominate David Bailey in the playoffs. I mean, again, great player.
Yeah.
But he's a right tackle.
Right.
And the Browns, speaking of the Browns, they need a left tackle. And Fano can play left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And he can play right tackle. And he can play left guard.
Okay.
And he can play right guard.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as if you look at the last couple of years, if you're the Browns and all the offensive line shuffling they've had to do because of injuries, boy, don't you feel better about a guy that we can play him anywhere.
I would agree with that. I absolutely would agree with that. That I think that's when you look at the whole Swiss cheese kind of a deal that they had. Now, again, they've done some things to upgrade the line. I mean, it couldn't possibly be worse than it was last year. So it will be in better shape this year upcoming. So you won't necessarily have all of the same dynamics as far as needing to plug and play guys across multiple spots. But there is something to be said for that, because the road back to where they're looking to get to be, and realistically, look, I don't know that in our lifetimes they're going to get back to like where they were in 2020 with Bill Callahan here, and they're like, I don't think that that offensive line is coming back at all anytime soon. But just a step up from arguably the worst line in the league as they were a year ago. That's the progression they're looking to make. I mean, mediocrity this year, I think mediocrity would be very, very appealing to them after what they had last year.
It was a disaster, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, they tried Dwan Jones at left. He looked terrible. Again, another guy who they tried to play out of place, right? They tried it with Jed Wills. Some of us were opposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
Jed Wills was a right tackle. I don't know. He played it his entire life. And they were like, hey, let's take a guy who's really not into football.
Uh-huh.
And put him out of position and make him work really hard.
Right.
It was just dumb. Let him play right tackle, the thing he's comfortable with. And Jed Wills is an athletic guy, right?
Yeah.
I just believe that if they had let him play right tackle, the Jed Wills experiment might have ended very differently. Or at the very least, rather than, keep him around, because I kept thinking throughout the experiment, like, if you're going to play him at left tackle, what about thinking about putting him at guard? Like, I think Jed Wills would be a great guard. And didn't he just sign with the Bears or somebody in the offseason? And I think they're going to try to plug him in at guard or something like that. I thought that's what I read. So again, I agree with you. Like, we watched Dwan Jones go over to left for a couple of games. He looked terrible.
Right.
And again, I don't blame him. They immediately realized, well, that's not working. Oh, look, conveniently Conklin got hurt again, because he always got hurt.
Sure.
So we're gonna move Dwan over to right tackle, back where he was comfortable, and he played in that one game at right tackle, and the first few plays are like, okay, he looks good over there, and then he gets hurt, and that was the season.
Yeah.
So what could have been? I still think Dwan is a right tackle. Maybe they want to use him as a swing tackle now. You got to have guys like that. So they clearly, and the guys they picked up free agency, you notice these guys were capable at playing multiple positions. Right. So Titus Howard is a right tackle, but also has a lot of experience. He can play right guard. Mm-hmm. The gentleman from Green Bay they picked up has played left tackle, left guard, and center. Right. And he's done left guard at a Pro Bowl level. And when he played left tackle, he looked good. And last year, he had never played center in his life. And they were like, hey, you're going to be center. And you know what? Yeah. He went out and gave it his best. You know what I mean? So they are clearly moving towards guys. I mean, they picked up Zion Johnson. He can play left and right guard. Right. So again, the guys that can play all over the line is where they're going. I will say this. They still have a hole at center. Not enough people have been talking about that as we got in. And even we didn't really talk about it in our pre-draft show because, and it's not where people want to talk about when you talk about the Browns. But that extra third from Kansas City, that may end up being a center. Because they need center depth. Right. And they don't have it right now. Right. Now, I do think Whippler, he keeps getting hurt. We'll see if he gets back. Zach Zinter, who's been a bust, he might be a guy they try to move to center. I've talked to I've asked some people that are much more knowledgeable than me at O-line, and some of them have said they think he could be a serviceable, pretty good center. Okay. So maybe Zinter's future is going to be at center, but don't be shocked if that third round pick they just picked up is going to be a center pick.
That is one where, again,
Maybe the kid Slaughter out of Florida, or maybe the kid out of Kansas State.
Yeah. I felt like what ended up happening there, I really felt like they got good value trading back there, and it really surprises me to say that. I'm sure you probably agreed as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would always like a little more, but it was 3 spots. I mean,
Right.
you're not getting their number 1 next year for 3 spots.
Right.
So, and look at, Jimmy gets, seeing the Cowboys pick, Jimmy gets the guy at defense that one of the guys he certainly coveted. Caleb Downs falling all the way to 11. Getting to be a Cowboy, that's a great pick for the Cowboys. I'm a Cowboys fan as well, and that makes me happy that the Cowboys stayed put, didn't give up capital, and went and got a great ball player, a great, on the ball, off the ball, a tackler. You could put Caleb Downs covering the slot. I mean, he can do so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, what a great pickup by the Cowboys.
It really is. This is akin to. Isn't this a somewhat similar spot in 21 where they got Micah Parsons, where he dropped to them? Because that was. Because I don't think
did Parsons go that far? I didn't think it was that far.
It was. I think it was in this ballpark, because I don't think they had a real high pick. As we both go to look this up momentarily here at the same time.
I'm gonna let you do it. I'm watching the television.
Let's see, because it was somewhere in the ballpark of, actually no, 12th pick. So yeah. So
you were right. You were right.
Yeah. So this is history. For some reason I was
thinking like that was like 8 or 9, but
yeah, they just they haven't been. Well, and here's a funny thing on Wikipedia, by the way, as I hit refresh. They also have Caleb Downs going to Miami at 12. I don't think that's quite possible, folks. That would be, as a Fish fan, I would love to see that, but I'm afraid that would be technically impossible, Wikipedia, for them to share his services. But this is a thing where, again, to be able to get a player of that ilk dropping to them, it's really just something where, everybody was convinced that to get one of these defensive studs, they were going to have to trade up. And here they are. I'm going to assume the fact that they didn't trade up, there just wasn't a deal to be made, essentially. And they sit there and they end up getting the guy. I mean, it's, kudos to the Cowboys, who, this is another team that, again, quietly in the off season, I mean, a very un-Cowboys-like thing. I've been saying about the Cowboys forever, stars and scrubs, which same thing about my Fish, that they've been Dallas East. Well, the Fish in the off season, bring it in the Green Bay brain trust to try to turn things around. Dallas, no real turnover in their front office that any of us can discern, but learning the lessons of the last couple of years, I think, and of trying to be much less of a stars and scrubs team here. And yet you get a guy who can be a transcendent star on defense. I mean, as far as like the things that could help, again, it's kind of comical here, maybe not so much to you, but every NFC team has made it to at least the conference championship game since 2010, except for Dallas since 96. If there's going to be anything that gets Dallas over the hump, I'm going to say it right here and right now. And even more than anything they do with their flashy offense, this is the kind of pick that can do it. See Nick Emenwari, Seattle Seahawks.
They need defense, and their next pick later in this round, they gotta go get a corner.
Yes.
Interestingly, I did see that Pickens signed his tender. And Pickens signed his tender. So the question is do they deal him, or is he going to stay a Cowboy? Because they couldn't deal him tonight or tomorrow if he didn't sign that thing.
Look.
So there's a lot of speculation that maybe he signed it so the Cowboys could move him.
Right. I cannot believe. I just cannot believe, I refuse to believe that after everything and seeing what was done with him last year in that offense, that they would go back to essentially where they were and like, well, we'll just cobble up a second wide receiver somewhere. Like, that would be such a ginormous step backwards for them were they to do that, Chris. I can't see that would be the case.
I would be surprised because Pickens was so good last year, and you remember how much I loved Pickens coming out in the draft, and then he had such a bad start at South Carolina at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But I was such a Pickens guy when he came out.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that! Miami takes Caden Proctor. So
Okay.
congratulations, Rick. This is your pick. You get a guy with slow feet and can't keep his weight down. So good luck.
What did I say about the Green Bay Brain Trust coming in? Yeah, no, I don't love this one at all.
And here's the thing. I don't mean to try. He's a good young man. He really is. If you listen to Saban talk about him,
yeah,
you know what Saban said? You get him in. He does everything you want him to. He's a good teammate. He's a good kid. He does everything. Saban said it yesterday, I think, on the McAfee show. He's like, but when he's not in the building, he's a kid who comes in out of shape, too heavy. Yeah. He's like, now, once you get him in the building, he does everything you want him to do. He'll lose the weight. He does this. He does everything you ask him to do as a coach. He does everything. He's a good kid. But Saban clanged the warning bell there. He's like, but when he's not in the building and you're not watching him, apparently he's stuff in his face or something. I don't know, but Saban kind of had that warning that, like, great kid, athletic, easy to coach, listens well, but man, he's a kid who's every year is going to come in out of shape and overweight.
I don't love that. This is one of these things again where I will say, I mean, to give the benefit of the doubt here, I mean, something like that ain't a secret to any of these teams here. So maybe they're looking at it, and maybe Jeff Hadley's got the confidence that, like, look, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to be, a change of direction guy from what McDaniel had, which, again, I say this as somebody where, again, I didn't really blame McDaniel for what happened last year. I've been a Chris Greer hater for quite a period of time now. So,
really quick before the pick comes in, and I'll let you finish your thought.
Yeah.
Rams, do they go Mekhi Lemon or do they go Sadiq?
Mekhi Lemon or Sadiq?
No one has said Sadiq for the Rams, and I think he would be a sneaky pick for them to add a weapon in a place that they don't really have a fast weapon at tight end.
Here's the thing. I know Jason and I both have it being Lemon in the mock drafts, but why would Sadiq make more sense for them than maybe anybody else in the league, Chris? What do they love to do?
So your own question. I guess I'm not sure where you're driving with it.
Okay. They run 13 personnel more than almost anybody in the league.
Oh, do they really? I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it's a thing where you might as well have one of them be an actual weapon, right? I mean, right now, when the Rams do that, it's just like, hey, let's get 8 offensive linemen out there. But imagine if you had one of them who was like a Pro Bowl caliber guy. So so that's
Sadiq ran like a 4.39.
Yeah. He's a physical
you talk
freak.
about matchup problems for linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know a lot of people think it's Mekhi Lemon.
Yeah.
Staying in LA. And maybe it is, but I really think Sadiq fits what the Rams. I think he fits them offensively.
Okay.
I mean, 13 personnel aside, or even 12 personnel aside, I think he fits them. Yes. And I haven't heard anybody talking about him as a potential pick there.
I haven't either. Jason and I both have it being Lemon, the more or less hometown guy. But that's fascinating. I don't know that I'd really contemplated too much with it being Sadiq, but that would be. But as far as, with Proctor going to the Dolphins, all I can figure is that Hadley must have a lot of confidence that he can basically kind of, I don't know if you'd say bully him into, being in shape and everything like that, 365 days a year, but compel that out of him. Again, I was not a proponent for firing McDaniel, but you've gone this route. You got a guy in there that's tougher. So maybe this is where you can, but I didn't see that as a spot where you needed to take chances, Chris. I guess that's where I'm kind of looking at it like, and that's like, I'm not sure I would have necessarily taken Lemon in that spot, but I mean, all of a sudden you got a big old need at wide receiver. Tyson was off the board, so it's not like you were going to go there. Mayoga's still out there, so that's an interesting possibility that remains unfulfilled. If you're talking hometown guys, Reuben Bain Jr., that's another direction they could have gone in. So kind of, like it felt early for a roll of the dice like that. I will say, for a guy with Proctor's measurables, and I know what Jason Jones, our senior editor, has said as far as players like that not profiling well, but I will say this, that I mean, at his size, if he's in shape and with the footwork and everything like that, you could be talking about one of the best left tackles in the league. That just seems like a lot of ifs for where they took him with who's still out there. So I'm not digging it as a Dolphins fan. Sorry.
Yeah, get it. And also, I mean, you didn't get a chance because this draft, I love the 8 minutes because it's moving so quick, but
It is.
that gives us less time to sort of speculate.
Well, they're not even taking the 8 minutes because theoretically this still could have gone till like 12:20. It's not going to come anywhere close.
Yeah, no, they're ripping through them. Look, I mean, the Dolphins have holes everywhere, right?
Yep.
So had you said to me, "Gee, I don't know where can they go," I would have literally said to you, "I don't know, Rick. Everywhere." I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
the Dolphins need everything. So, and I get it this way though. If you're building a team from ground up, and in many ways the Dolphins are,
Yep.
you start in the trenches. And we know there's no great, Reuben Bain would have been about it. You talk about the trenches. There's no great defensive tackles to take that high.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to take, build the trenches, you're going to look at left tackle. Okay, who's left at left tackle? I understand what they did, right? I mean,
yeah,
I get it. They need to rebuild from the bottom up, and you start in the trenches.
Yes.
Let's see what the Rams do. It's probably Mekhi Lemon, but I did throw the Sadiq curveball out there.
And they're my leader in the clubhouse. Oh my goodness. I was going to say my leader in the clubhouse to win the NFC next year. Holy crap. They're making me look dumb. Ty Simpson. I can't believe this. Chris, I'm going to tell you what I had texted to a few folks in the last couple of days, that you'd probably heard a lot of or maybe you hadn't, I don't know, a lot of the bitching and whining, justifiably so, about the debacle of WrestleMania 42, how it exemplified late stage capitalism with just being such a, horrific money grab, no quality, et cetera, et cetera. I texted a couple people, they're friends of mine, and I said, in the same month as Mania, somehow or another, the worst fantasy booking going on right now is with the NFL. All these dweebs that are trying to make Ty Simpson to the Rams happen because, it'll set them up for the future. And then they actually do it. I thought you were all in for right now, guys. I thought you were all in for this moment in time.
It's been rumored, and I do get it from a long-term standpoint. Obviously, if they did this, they had to get Stafford's blessing.
Jordan Love says hi.
They had to have a long conversation with him.
Yeah.
Because Stafford's got 1 or 2 more years left in him, right?
Right.
So, I mean, this is the Aaron Rodgers plan. This is them saying, we expect Ty Simpson to be our starter in 2028. So I guess we can take off the board the GM and the coach leaving anytime soon. But I'm with you. You're trying to get to the Super Bowl in 2027, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the 26th season.
Yeah.
This is not the pick you do it with. I mean,
No.
You go and you get a Makai Lemon, you get a Sadiq, you get, another defensive piece. If you're trying to go to the Super Bowl now, they are prioritizing the future. And look, a lot like what the Packers did, right? With Rodgers and then ultimately Love. I mean, they just said we don't, we're going to keep somebody in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And look, 3 years from now, this may be a brilliant move. And we look back and we go, hey, Stafford retired and Simpson came out in his first year and he was, had a great, season finally playing. And everybody goes, boy, that was so brilliant what they did. Well, but we're going to have to wait 3 years to find out whether it was brilliant.
Well, and in terms of the whole thing of like, we're going to seamlessly go from one era to the next, I got 4 words for you. James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga. Doesn't always work out the way you think it's going to go, of like, we're going to bridge from one era to the next.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't always work. Listen,
Yeah.
I like Ty Simpson. I know it's a small sample size. I did see things I liked there when I watched him last year. I really did. There were games where, stretches where I was like, this is an NFL quarterback. And then there were some where you saw like, oh, lack of experience. Oh, right. But
Yeah.
there were moments where I was like, I like this kid,
Well, I will say this, that, I always like to talk about this. This has become a cliche on the show and in my life in recent years, the whole saying, the profile never lies. And for me, as people who know me know, part of the profile is that, as Ben Chu has said, that I am somebody that's a sucker for the highlight reel. So, I mean, it says something that I'm not a Ty Simpson guy, okay? He's got a highlight reel, and I'm just like, I'm not seeing it out of this guy, because, like, he didn't have the consistency. He fell off a cliff the second half of the season. I know he was not completely healthy then, but it's a thing where when you look at his height, when you look at his physical measurables, I mean, to me, the best case scenario for this guy, I look at him and I'm just like, Baker Mayfield. And we know in retrospect, Baker Mayfield is not a top of the draft quarterback. I don't think he's a 13th pick in the draft quarterback. For a guy who's a guy who probably gets a nosebleed if you're mentioning him at the edge of the top 10, I just don't think that's a guy. I don't think this guy's ever going to be a consensus top 10 quarterback, Chris. And I don't think you take the guy here if you don't think that he is.
See enough that they like him. All right, Rick, it's your annual quiz on who did the NFL let fall to Baltimore.
I agree with what Bob Glassman said before. I think Ione out of Penn State. I think it's going to be the guard there who is going to fit in.
Most likely Ione. I also this is another
it
team
is.
I wonder.
It is. They did it. This is 2 years in a row. I forget who you quizzed me on last year, but I nailed it last year and I nailed it this year. It just, if you watch this stuff long enough, the profile of guys there's that word again, the profile of guys are going to drop to the Ravens. Mm-hmm. So here we go. Here we go.
You were right. I know we were. I think we were both. I think you, me, and Jason have basically been right since Kyle Hamilton, and even further back every year we're right about it. Like, here it comes.
Patrick Queen was a guy that we saw coming.
Yeah.
And so and that's where, and again, take no pleasure in it because again, even if I'm a Browns fan in exile at the moment, it doesn't mean that I love the Ratbirds or the Squealers. So I still don't ever want to see anything good happen to them from my own personal perspective. But this is going to help them. They need help on the offensive line. And that's the thing where they've had an up and down off season. Ultimately, I think with some of the things that have happened.
I would argue down, right? I mean,
losing Lindbaum hurts, like losing him to the Raiders.
A lot. And look, they had a desperate need in the interior in that line.
Yeah.
If they didn't pick him for somebody flashy, I would have been shocked. I mean, again, you win in the trenches, and they had nothing in the middle. And I mean, it was an obvious pick for them. Like, all right, and then you've got the Buccaneers up.
Yeah,
the pick is in.
Oh, their pick's in too. Okay.
I confess I haven't paid attention to a lot to the Buccaneers in terms of what their needs are. Obviously, they need wide receiver again.
Yep.
They probably could use some O-line.
Well,
I wonder if Tampa Bay is a location for Sadiq for Mayfield.
in looking at this here, you give me the opportunity to mention. Check out available on the main page at fantasydrafthelp.com. Pro Football Draftology 2026. Page 14, draft priorities by team. This was the section that I worked on personally. Here's how I had it. I've got them with 7 needs on their team, more or less at about the league average. I'd say both spots on the defensive line, both spots on the interior offensive line, cornerback, and wide receiver. In that order, those are the needs that I have for Tampa, Chris. So,
I think tight end.
Arguably tight end, maybe. Yeah, you could see
I mean, I'm literally stretching, trying to remember who. I'm asking legitimately, who is their starting tight end?
They're starting. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I am going to cheat as we're.
That's what I'm saying to you. I can't even think of who it is.
It was. They've K. Dotton has been their tight end. So I mean, he's trademark Lisa Simpson. I mean, I think he's perfectly cromulent, but he's somebody where you could do an upgrade there, no question about it.
I think you want to figure out ways. There's no defensive tackle worth taking there. I think you want to help Baker Mayfield. I think Mayfield's regression last year showed that despite all the hoopla, he's still QB 15, right?
Right.
He needs
And that's
help around him.
That's where I see Simpson ultimately. That's where I don't think Simpson made any sense for the Rams. But I mean, if you look at it, if we're saying both sides, both spots of the defensive line, Reuben Bain Jr. in this spot, I'm not sure Tampa thought that he was going to slide there. Neither Jason nor I had him sliding to 15. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
And so ultimately, I think that some of the other players that could be in the mix here.
Hood, cornerback. What about Hood? Colton Hood. Omar Cooper Jr. is another guy that I think they could go with. Mekhi Lemon. I mean, again, we just talked about Mekhi Lemon still on the board.
Mekhi Lemon might make the most. Like, to me, it's Bain or Lemon. I don't think there's a third possibility here. I don't think. I think that it's you're running out of possibilities.
Lemon does make a lot of sense.
He does, and I think again this. As far as my goal, if this is where the slide stops for him potentially, maybe, but that gets Baker a little bit of the help he's needing. But I'm going to say Bain or Lemon, and I can't really make a call on this. Sadiq again is somebody where, I mean, if you have a tight end who's just basically more or less league average, which at this point in time I think probably about 18 to 20 teams in the league probably do. That guy coming in, and talked about this before as far as the situation in Las Vegas where Mendoza steps in with Bowers. I think Bowers and I think McBride are probably in about a tie for best tight end in the league. And there's one or two, maybe you could see Loveland getting into that conversation. But I mean, Sadiq is a guy that we could probably see being part of that conversation in short order, no?
Yeah, I think he's coming off the board in the next few picks. I mean,
yeah, I got him going to Carolina, which, to be honest with you, if Tampa thinks Carolina might like him, does that influence them here? Stranger things have happened, right? So
I would hope you'd stick to your board. And if Mekhi Lemon is falling to you and you lost Chris Evans,
yeah,
Lemon kind of makes the most sense.
That's an interesting mashup between Godwin and Mike Evans, but Chris Evans. Reuben Bain Jr. Yes, I called it. Kind of, sort of.
Go. That's the replacement for the end they lost. Was that Logan Hall they lost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, create a hole, fill a hole, trademark Cleveland Browns, but getting this guy in there and having him fall and the whole thing too, I'm not a big proponent of a lot of
man, you're in Florida, kid. You're Miami. You're going to Tampa. I mean, you
right,
got to be pretty happy. I mean, you're sticking around.
right. All of the draft stuff, silly season of like, oh, I don't know, I think the guy might have alligator arms. Like, I just kind of wonder where they come up with some of this stuff. Like, I'm not saying that none of that stuff is important. And then if you had the arms of, say, Billy Barty, that might not matter. But I don't think you'd be getting as many sacks in the ACC as you did if you had the arms of Billy Barty. So, in the first place. So,
He's strong. He's powerful. He has burst. Yeah, he's got short arms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think that's the thing that's the most important for a defensive end.
Yeah.
I think it's actually far more important for a tackle.
Yeah.
Than it is, for a defensive end.
What if right now, what if Goodell goes to clown him by offering him a handshake where his hand is up to like his sternum? You think there's any chance of that happening?
He puts his arms in his jacket pocket like little stumps.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Pulls them into his sleeves, and he has
yes. That would be the kind of thing that would actually make me appreciate Roger Goodell for once, if he was able to show that kind of sense of humor. I will say that.
To be honest, I still miss Roger Goodell in the basement eating M&Ms in his leather Barca lounger. That to me, during COVID was peak Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell in his Barca lounger in the basement eating M&Ms was the best Roger Goodell. And you knew he was drinking something because he got a little sloshy as the night went on.
Well, and that he spent like 80 hours the previous week getting coached by like some kind of consultant as to how to try to appear more of a common man. So yeah, that was apparently what they came up with in the focus group, have him eat M&Ms in his basement. So, I you would know more than me about this, Chris.
I guess they could have done that, but I would hope you wouldn't spend a nickel on just putting a camera in your basement and being like, yeah.
You would know more about this than me, Chris, but to me, that's just evidence that focus groups ain't what they used to be, if that's what you're getting. Tell Roger Goodell to eat M&Ms.
I would say if that's what the consultants came up with, they actually nailed it because it actually worked.
Oh, okay.
Bill Belichick's dog at the table in Nantucket, that was a great moment.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is true. That is true. And a text from Bob Glassman, guess I was right. Ugh. So yeah, so he was he was right with his prediction. But the Jets being on the clock, I said before to Russ Cohen, Jets fan extraordinaire. Now he was saying that both Jason and I would be wrong about Jordan Tyson being the pick to the Jets, and he's going to be correct about that one there, as he ended up going off the clock well before this. So, and again, he was unhappy with it being David Bailey at 2 just because of their shite history of developing defensive ends. But my thing was like, that's not a reason not to do it. Like, you need, big time edge rushers if you're going to be successful. So it can't be like we've always sucked at it.
I understood the pick of Bailey over Reese because Bailey's more ready to go.
Right.
In terms of a polished pass rusher. So if you're the Jets, again, it made sense. It really did.
Well, here's the thing, though. And this is the thing about bad teams, conflicting timelines. For Aaron Glenn, this works on his timeline. Let's get a guy that can do this right now. For the Jets, who are no doubt hoping that they will live up to my prediction of them of 3-14 for this year so they can go get Arch Manning, you might rather have Reese, right? Because then you could have him developing a little slower. What's the pick here? Oh, Sadiq is the pick. Okay. This is
interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I thought he was going in these next few picks, and he finally does.
Okay. All right. So the needs that I had for the Jets in this order, quarterback, of course, so much for that. Wide receiver, cornerback, offensive tackle, a center, tight end, edge. So they've scratched off the last two on my list. Which, look, as far as taking Bailey, look, you got to go where the draft board says you got to go, right? So I mean, I'm not gonna hit them for that one. It was a need that they had. They had a copious amount of needs, and tight end's a need also too. So this is a thing where, again, and it's like
athletic freak at tight end, right? I mean, if you're looking to have a rookie quarterback next year, you went ahead and you drafted his best friend right now.
I'm awaiting a text from Russ Cohen at some point, probably in the next couple of minutes, quoting the dire history of big-time tight ends drafted by the Jets. I'm sure he's got that committed to bitter memory. So,
but to your point, it's not the reason not to do it.
That's right. And again, I had as one of their more urgent, imminent needs wide receiver. Now, this doesn't negate that, but this sure as heck makes up for that somewhat. The fact that you have him in there now with Garrett Wilson, like that's a good combo right there. And
who's the best left tackle still on the board? Because that's the Lions' biggest need at the moment now.
Well, in looking at the needs, the way that I had it actually was defensive line, cornerback, linebacker, offensive line, all the positions, and wide receiver. So best left tackle out there still.
Well, they let Eric Decker walk. So
yeah. So I mean,
you got to go get a left. I mean, that to me is they don't have a left. I mean, I guess they do. I shouldn't say that. They do, right? Does that mean they're going to move Sewell back over to the left side?
I think so.
That's probably what that means. So then they need a right tackle.
Looks like this is going to be a year where Jason Jones gets the best of me on our mock drafts here because he's got Freeling going in this spot. I've got it being Fano, which it now can't be. So Freeling makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to guess Freeling's the pick.
Yeah, he makes a lot of sense in this spot. He really does. Because ultimately, when you're looking at the other positions in need, and again, I think that the Lions kind of quietly.
The only thing about this pick for the Lions is this a pick that you're in because the Lions are in win now? Would they go with a guy like Blake Miller, who's more plug and play and ready to go right now?
Yeah, I think so. And that's where, and again, and you're gonna scoff at this, but again, with cornerback being a need for them as well. I mean, look, don't have, a coronary in shock here if it ends up being, say, Avion Terrell possibly, or if it ends up being a little rich for the blood if it's maybe not if it's Colton Hood at this point. Maybe not rich for the blood, depending on how teams have them valued out. So, although German McCoy's still out there. Interesting.
Back to the Russ Cohen, problems. Right? Let's not talk about the Lions' terrible record of picking corners.
Well, that's true.
That's true. But it's not a reason not to do it.
It is not a reason not to do it. Absolutely.
And Terrell would seem to fit what they want to do.
Right.
Would make sense. Freeling makes sense in terms of left tackle talent. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe they do move Sewell over to left for a season.
Yeah.
And Freeling just kind of sits the bench.
Could be.
Although you don't get any better not playing.
That is true.
That's kind of hard to do. So, although Freeling can play right tackle, he's so athletic.
He can, They can move him around to different spots. It's a thing where we look at it last year, and it's easy to look at the situation of where the Lions regressed, losing their coordinators. But based on what I just read now, as far as team needs go, this is a team that had also taken a bit of a step backward personnel-wise. So they're in sort of replenishing mode at this point. They have
Well,
needs
they
with a
lost
number
two
of
tackles. I mean,
yeah.
and they lost a backup utility guy on O line. They lost 3 O linemen in the offseason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know they need a corner, but man, they haven't done enough on the O line. I wonder if a guy like Blake Miller fits here just because he's ready to go now.
Could be. But I'm looking at this to see. Again, I got Blake Miller going 28 to Houston. Does Jason even have him going in the first round? He does not. So this
Blake
is one.
Miller was one of the players Jason hates
That's right.
and
That's right.
doesn't want a team to touch any team. He's like
Yeah.
radioactive uranium, I guess.
That's right. That's right. And so now we gotta. Okay, so before the pick here, so the NFL is doing a self-congratulatory thing of Make-A-Wish here of like we care about sick kids. So, you know, I know they could quietly make a contribution and not like put themselves over and glorify themselves. They could do it. What does the Bible say about like don't let anybody know if you're doing? You know, clearly the NFL's never abided by that. The NFL's never abided by the biblical principles of doing something nice quietly. It's like
guy knows Mike Vrabel isn't.
By the way, who knew that you could check into some kind of counseling thing on a Saturday? Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing. So yeah, I mean,
and also, by the way, it's counseling where you'll still be quote unquote in contact with the team. Blake Miller.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Lions take
wow.
Blake Miller.
Good call. Okay.
He's ready to go now.
Well, that is definitely something that they value. There's no question about that. In a division,
it makes sense because they're in win now mode. It really does.
Yeah. And that's the thing where now, and I think you would admit this as far as, so again, when we went to do our top 10 coaches in the NFL in our
by the
guide,
way, I'll admit nothing. Oh,
okay. I was going to say, Dan Campbell slipped out of our top 10 coaches lists here because you're seeing now, and by the way, and you're seeing this with a lot of, we'll talk about this when Joe Stazak's on, a lot of rabid overreactors in Philly who think that Nick Sirianni's a bum. But the limitations of the coach as CEO mode, like Dan Campbell without star coordinators, you're going to get what you had last year. Sorry, Chris. You're going to get Coach Medium Shirt is not the guy to go in there and, you know, be looking under the microscope here and, you know, whatever. Like, no. He's not the chessboard guy. He's the meathead motivator guy who's supposed to have smart guys to run the X's and O's. So
he's a different guy and a different role. And, you know, who does Minnesota go with here? Do they go in? What are they? I was initially thinking maybe a wide receiver, but they don't really need one.
By the way, I was right on it with Russ. He just texted me another tight end, LOL, and I'm texting him back. He is a beast.
He is a beast.
Yes. Caleb Banks. Okay. All right. And for a franchise that, again, one of the things that they have notoriously done well over a period of time is develop defensive linemen. So true. All the way back to the
they have a real need there on the line. So
they have a lot of needs because ultimately, here's what I had for them. Defensive backs, linebackers, running back, defensive line, interior offensive line, and wide receiver. So they could have gone any number of ways here. And ultimately with Banks, now that's not a guy that either Jason or I nailed. He had it being Caden McDonald, who you talk about a polarizing prospect. He had him going 18. I didn't have McDonald going in the first round. I had it being Dylan Tiedemann here.
McDonald goes in the first round at all.
You don't think he's gonna? Okay.
No,
yeah. I mean, that's so. Well, Jason thought again, somebody's gonna go on upside, right? Somebody's gonna go on upside. Here's Russ's counterpoint on taking Sadiq. Can't block, drop some passes. No, they have Taylor. Like, he's way better than Taylor. So that's just my simple answer to him. But yeah, I knew the profile never lies.
And by the way, we're not that far away from the Browns being back on the clock.
Yeah.
And think about these wide receivers still on the board: Mekhi Lemon, Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, there's two guys right there that are still on the board.
Totally agree.
And I don't think the Panthers or Philly are going wide receiver.
Here's the only thing I would say about that.
Dallas will, unless they are actually going to get rid of what's his face, Pickens.
Well, here's what I would say. See if you can fill in the blanks on my counterpoint. When guys are falling, and none of the teams in those spots there are necessarily inclined to take players at that position, what is the thing that could work against the Browns in the interim?
Somebody trading up.
Somebody else moves up. That's the possibility. So if somebody else is like, I can't believe we're only a couple picks away from Lemon, we need to do something about that. Therein lies the rub, and that's a thing where if you're the Browns,
Lemon, Omar Cooper Jr. is the guy I really want to see them take. If Omar Cooper Jr. is there at 24 and the Browns get him, I'm here to tell you this draft has been a success with Fano and Cooper if they can land him at 24.
Okay.
I will come away feeling like we have just absolutely crushed this draft right off the rip.
I'm going to give you the same counterpoint as Jason. Do you believe he really has the ability to separate at the NFL level?
Probably my one concern.
It's a big one.
It is, but he's got great hands. He's a great playmaker. I don't know that Cooper's a 1. I see him as a 2.
Okay. Well, the Browns are a team with nothing but 3s at the very best.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the Browns really need 1 and 2. So it's like, would you be all right if you drafted T. Higgins at 24? Probably.
I mean, is what you just said a little bit of a cheat?
It's like you talk about separation. Like, he ran a faster 40 than Lemon did, and nobody questions Lemon on that.
Okay, but like what you just said might have been a little bit of a cheat in as much as T. Higgins would be a 1 on probably 5 to 10 teams in the league. He's not. He's a 2 because he's playing with Chase. You know. He might be a 1 on maybe 12 teams. That would be kind of a fun game to play. Like which teams would he be a number 1 on? Clearly the Browns. I mean,
yes.
I don't know who else off the top of my head.
I would say is like, just because you are a number 1 because a team stinks doesn't mean you are a number 1.
Okay.
I still see Higgins as a very high level 2.
Okay.
And that's how I see Cooper, I guess is what I'm saying.
No. Then again, I mean, yeah, he'd be a 1 on the Raiders. He'd be the teams I'm thinking of. He might be a 1 on the Dolphins. I don't know if he would be ahead.
He would be by default the same way Judy is on the Browns, but he was terrible last year.
Well, let's not compare Judy to him at this point. Ultimately, the way that Judy has just embarrassed himself over the course of his Browns career. Okay, Freeling to the Panthers here. So. Not able to take Sadiq, so this is what they end up doing. I'd penciled in Sadiq in this spot. And so for the Panthers, I had their needs being, as we look at it here in the guide, I'd had it being, interior offensive line, defensive back, wide receiver, defensive line, and tight end. But nevertheless, again, you can always move somebody inside by dint of taking him to play tackle. So
they had their top things on Freeling, right? Their top 3 bullet points. Number 3 was mom is a yoga instructor.
Really? Okay.
That's what the NFL Network chose to put up there. First one was huge.
Okay. Now, I mean, is this that could go either way, right? As far as like that he inherited something that might help with his footwork or whatever, or it might have just been, or they,
his mom is flexible, therefore.
I was gonna say, or they're objectifying his mom, like
I know. I was like, I'm looking at his mom on the TV right now, and I'm like, well, that's nice that she does that, but she looks like every suburban mom.
she's kind of milfy. I mean, it's hard to really tell from the shot that they're using, but I mean, you know.
I guess they're suggesting he has the potential to be flexible. I don't know what that bullet point meant. I mean, why not just put up there he has a cousin who rebuilds Harleys? I mean, what's it got to do with him?
Also, you know, on the night of a draft where conversation is being dominated by Diana Rossini, maybe we don't want to be getting into any kind of commentary about women whatsoever. Now, the Eagles, Eagles just jumping on Makai Lemon. Okay, so speaking of Diana Rossini, even a stop clock is.
We know they're shipping off AJ Brown, so that was one where I was worried if I'm the Cleveland Browns,
Yeah,
about a wide receiver because they have a need. So Cooper remains. Now Pittsburgh's the next one because Pittsburgh also needs a wide receiver.
Yep.
And that's the next spot where Cooper could go. But Pittsburgh also needs O-line. They need interior. I
want to see Pittsburgh do the funniest thing ever. Shades of 2020 with Pickett. I want to see him go Carson Beck here. And I'll do the Elaine Bennis. And I laughed if that happens. That would provide us with an entire.
In the last 4 to 5 days, there were a bunch of rumors of Beck making his way into the first round.
Classic silly season. Classic silly season. And like, again, that would provide us that we would get our quota of mirth for the entire evening if he ends up going to the Squealers. But Lemon to the Eagles here. Again, they're not impregnable when it comes to getting these things right. See Freddie Mitchell, see 2021. You and I were doing or was it 2020? I think you and I were doing a live stream on Facebook when they passed over Justin Jefferson, and you and I are both like, they'll live to regret it. The entire reason that AJ Brown is there is because
they took Nelson Aguilar, right?
No, it was the guy from Baylor. It was it was not Aguilar.
Aguilar was from USC. You're right.
That was an earlier mistake. I'm bringing this up here. Now, the pick, I mean, you and I were like vociferous in real time. Jalen Reagor. Actually from
Jalen Reagor. Yeah, you
TCU.
and I were both.
TCU.
We were both like, how do you not take Justin Jefferson? What are you doing?
Yeah. Which is, and that's what led to, and I dropped this on Joe Staszak here, is that like, you have to take moments like that are part of the historical record alongside everything that Howie Roseman did to put together the 2022 NFC champions and the 2024 NFL champions, Super Bowl champions. That to me, he's the J.R. Smith of general managers. Sometimes you love him and sometimes you hate him. And that draft there, that's the entire reason they had to go out and get A.J. Brown, is because Jalen Reagor was a bust and they could have had Justin Jefferson on a rookie contract. So, I mean, the difference between Howie Roseman and a lot of other GMs is, again, they win in the baseball terms, a pennant in 2022, and they win the whole thing in 2024 with a guy who is not on a rookie contract, a guy who they had to go out and get, a guy who's not as good as Justin Jefferson, but like not too far behind. He's a top tier guy in his own right, but like it would have just been easier to do it with Justin Jefferson on a rookie contract. We could have done it the easy way, Philly, but yeah. So again, Philly doesn't always nail these picks.
He gets a pass because they won a Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is true. And so that's where okay. So I think ultimately, and so Joe Stazak is, I believe, coming on Uno Momento to talk about them, and I think that ultimately, and I'll be very, very interested to hear what his commentary is going to be. But I think that there were other ways that they could have gone, but particularly if they're going to move Brown, right? That's the only way that they possibly could have gone.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected it. I was hoping they wouldn't take Cooper because again, I want the Browns to take Cooper.
Yeah.
But I worry that Cooper's the guy that the Steelers are going to go with right here.
You think so?
Well, I mean, they need a wide receiver. They need somebody beyond Metcalf.
I mean,
Although they need O-line badly.
the bad news for you is he feels like a Steeler pick. He does feel like that. Now, I say that in the sense of the Steelers a lot of times whiff on these wide receivers with some of these picks here, and this feels like one where he'd be something of an overdraft. So,
and there's an example like, I mean, they got it right with Pickens, but he was such a head case they couldn't make it work.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that like whenever they do nail their picks, it's borrowed time. It's George Pickens, it's Antonio Brown, it's who were some of the other guys before that. But there were other examples of like getting. So that's the thing, and like Omar Cooper, and that's the whole thing. And like they get guys who are either supremely overrated, like Juju Smith-Schuster, or they get guys that are prima donnas who they have to get rid of. Omar Cooper is not a prima donna, nor is he as talented as some of the other guys we're talking about here. He, to me, fits the profile of some of these guys that might be a disappointment. So ultimately, that's going to be they're showing the obligatory highlights here to pander to all the Pall Mall smokers in the crowd here in Pittsburgh to
They are. I mean, they did the same thing in Cleveland.
Yeah. And the whole.
What I just don't want is I don't want Concepcion. I really hate that. And if the Browns take him at 24, I'm going to be distraught.
Because Concepcion to me feels like he can be something of an all or nothing player. Is that how you see him?
Yeah. Who was the kid that the Jaguars took? He was just there and he's bounced around a little bit. He was a speedster. Maybe he then went to Texans. I just don't like him. I think he's undersized and he has bad hands. I mean, a guy who's 5'11" with small hands who's struggled to catch the ball. His catch radius isn't great with 30-inch arms. Like not a fan.
Let's go back an even decade. And if I was to tell you somebody else coming out of a Texas school, an even decade, Baylor. You remember who I'm talking about?
Mims.
Corey Coleman.
Oh, Corey Coleman. Yeah, no, I mean, Coleman actually, he did it. Okay, so they went tackle. But see, they needed tackle. They needed O-line. That made sense for the Steelers.
That does. That makes some sense. I could see that being the case. The one thing.
Now, I think the Chargers could go with that safety from Oregon.
Yeah.
But I want to put him on your radar because was it Thieneman? How you pronounce his name? Thieneman?
Yeah. Yes, that is it.
I think the Browns got to look at that. If he's there, I think they got to give. He's a guy that's going to be high on their board.
Here's my question to you. As a player that Jason Jones compared to Emanwari, which is, again, I mean, you can't, at this moment in time, you can't say anything too much better about a safety. Is it duplicative, them drafting him when they have Derwin James, or it is a thing of like, think of what they could do together? Which I guess you're thinking it would be the latter, yes?
Yeah, that's how I would think about it.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, I think he had, like, for Cleveland, he has a different skill set than
Yeah.
Delpit.
Yeah.
So I love him as a fit in Cleveland.
Right.
In fact, I would pass up wide receiver I know that sounds insane. I would probably take Thieneman over Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
If he's there for the Browns.
Okay. You think
Because
so?
I
Huh?
think you can still get a wide receiver in the top of the third, and a guy like Chris Bell, who I'm huge on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You've mentioned that he's a guy where now again, and Chris Bell is a guy, as you know, a bit of a polarizing prospect in his own right.
Yeah, but it's a function of his injury, I think. I think he's a first-round guy that's not going to go first round because of the injury.
Okay.
And he's rehabbing. He's running on a treadmill already. They say he's going to be ready for the start of the season. He's got big-time size and hands and run after the catch. I like him a lot.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And ultimately, as far as when I talk about things being polarizing, what is not polarizing is the greatness of what I'm about to get to here. I see that we have our friend Joe Stazak in the queue, Philly media legend, as we go to bring him in. And so I will start by saying that we have this next segment being sponsored here. This segment that we have coming up, here we go. Let's see. Actually, all right. Working this out on the technical end here. But this next segment that we have, all righty. Okay. So it is. Okay. Next segment that we have, sponsored by Epic Swagger. Epic Swagger is what you need when half-hearted attempts at personal improvement have fallen short. Philly sports media legend Joe Stazak built an alliance of elite coaches that is not a fitness company, but rather a transformational movement. They instill the principles of discipline and excellence by rooting the work in self-belief, purpose, and authenticity. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. It's not vanity, it's vitality. It's not loud, it's locked in. Swagger is when your energy speaks before you do, and your actions echo long after you leave the room. Find them on the web at epicswagger.com, and also check out Epic Swagger on Substack. With that, our man Joe Stazak coming in here now. So
you're the
Joe,
best, Chris.
Man.
You are the absolute best. I did not see that coming.
Appreciate it, pal.
Those words and phrases are just constantly ringing through my head. So to hear you lay them out, you do a much better job. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Was a great read.
That was a great read, wasn't it? That was a great read.
Thank you. People can go check that out. And I will say, Joe, that, in particular, there's a mutual friend of Chris's and mine that's been going through it recently here. And I remember, and I texted a guy a little bit ago. I'm like, our buddy Joe, go check out his stuff. That'll help you get in the right mindset. That'll whatever. And to my knowledge, the guy's done that and whatever. So yeah, so I think he's been seeing your videos on Facebook and kind of stuff that can get you fired up when you need a turnaround here on stuff. So
thank you. I just taped a morning bump for tomorrow that I'm opening up every Thursday, free coaching call. So the same principles that I would if not, it's not salesy or anything like that. Anyone can sign up. Just go to the link in my bio, and it's an hour every Thursday night, different topics, fitness, business, transformation, and all the good stuff that I preach every day. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to use this forum to mention that, but I announce it tomorrow. So it's tomorrow.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very good. What do you think about what the Eagles did there? Chris and I both thought that would have been a good pick for the Browns potentially here, but so score one for Diana Rossini as far as the rumors here about a forthcoming vacancy at wide receiver. So, you did what you had to do on that one there. I mean, not to be a downer, but I was like, well, this is also the same team that took Freddie Mitchell and Jalen Reagor. So, but I do like the pick, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, if you're going that direction,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the pick. He was in some spots, he was the number one wide receiver prospect. I know that I happen to like Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson. They went earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for what he is, I think he's going to be a very good NFL player. They have a wide receiver. His name's A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
You really want to trade with the Patriots. I know their schedule last year was incredibly easy. It's going to be a lot tougher this year. So the pick will be better, but it's down the road. What are we doing here? You got a whole new offensive coaching system coming in. And let's see, again, I'm not privy to the conversations that go on. If you do have a player that's extremely unhappy in where he is, then sometimes, I can see that, because, trying to force him into a spot where he's a little different, incredibly talented, a little different. I happen to like him. And the San Francisco game kind of left a pretty bad taste in people's mouth, dropped a couple balls. Looked like his effort he wasn't dialed in for that game. But I've been saying for so long, they're not going to get what they want.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's moving anywhere now after June 1st, obviously. But it's after the draft. And now that we're talking about picks down the road, Howie doesn't mind stockpiling. And, they have a lot of picks next year, and they had 8 picks going in this year. I because of the A.J. Brown situation, it kind of hampered their strategy, if you will, to go after other players that I think, and again, I don't like drafting for need. I like best player available. I think that's how you build your team. Their offensive line was the biggest problem last year. It wasn't A.J. Brown. It wasn't Jalen Hurts. It wasn't Saquon Barkley. It was the offensive line. Okay, so Lane Johnson, he was a Chip Kelly product. You remember Chip Kelly, like 100 years ago?
Vaguely.
Yeah, right? He's getting a little old in the tooth. He was banged up. He didn't play like the last 7 games last year. It's almost time he's going to go into the Hall of Fame, but it's time. And Landon Dickerson was hurt, and they had a lot of nagging problems last year. I would have thought they might start replenishing. There were some players out there. The one kid from Alabama, I thought they might take a crack at, because they do believe in Howie learned from Andy, and Andy, Big Red, builds from the inside out. Defensive line, offensive line, go from there, and quarterback. But for what it is, it tells me, like, now it screams that A.J. Brown is gone.
Yeah,
I believe. Until that happened, and I was watching the draft all night, and I went to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden they traded up. I'm like, listen, what the hell? I was watching this for 2 hours. Anyway, so they had other positions, and there were some other players out there. I know they moved up to get him. I didn't think he would leave and last that long, to be honest with you. Mekhi Lemon, I think he's going to fit in nicely. He is a rookie, though. Nelson Aguilar, when Chip decided to summarily get rid of Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy for like no apparent reason, and then they drafted Nelson Aguilar. And I used to argue with Matt Lombardo, my partner, on the air all the time. He's a rookie. He's not going to come in and replace 1,300 yards and 8 50-yard touchdowns from Deshaun Jackson. And he did have some problems too. He had like the yips a little bit until he settled down, had a great year in the Super Bowl run. Nelson Aguilar did, and he's having a nice career. But I don't trust rookies that much. There are some rookies that come on, burst onto the scene, and just, knock your socks off. He's a rookie. It's going to take him a little while. So I'm a little disappointed that it's going to go that way, and now I really believe that. As for Mike Vrabel, train wreck. Like, really? Like, I kind of stayed out of this subject. I think they have obligations to their families first to deal with that,
Yes.
not football stuff. So now we're going to miss days. Mike, we're going to therapy now. That was 3 weeks ago. What? You just got an appointment, and it happens to be on day 3 of the. It's a Saturday, and I thought it was. I thought you said those pictures were laughable, Mike.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? So it doesn't look good, and I usually don't. Look, I'm pretty forgiving, and everyone makes mistakes. I just didn't think it played out that well. And Diana Rossini, I hate us being in the media, and you know as well as I do how hard it is to get to some places and work that hard, and to kind of throw it away for whatever was going on. It's just it's a shame. It's a shame.
There's a lot that I've learned about life since this has started. I didn't know you could go into therapy on a Saturday.
Right.
I didn't. I've seen the Ambient brand of hotel. I didn't know it was for discreet getaways. I didn't know that.
That was a desperate effort.
Chris, you're a man of the world. Chris, you're a man of the world. You probably knew that about Ambient, right? You knew what I didn't know.
It was a desperate effort by them, knowing that those new photos from 6 years ago were coming out.
Yeah.
It was a lame, desperate effort. I mean, first of all, they also said, but don't worry, fans, he'll be in touch with the team. If you go into real counseling, you're not like on your phone, like talking.
Exactly. And you can't.
Everybody knows now that was just a bunch of nonsense.
The time that, like, the day that it happened is the day that will always be remembered as the day when the world changed. So it was like, just imagine them in the bar. Like, I just heard that Tom Hanks got COVID. Boy, am I horny. How did that go? I mean, like, I just, that day of all days, right? That day of all days.
It's in Australia. Good day, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how is news of the world going in the crapper an aphrodisiac somehow to these people? But that's a thing where.
Well, and let's be clear about something.
Yeah.
That was them in the bar 6 years ago. That doesn't mean it started 6 years ago.
That's exactly right. That's
been 2 years before that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's where, and again, you go back further. Now the stories about Diana Rossini and Britt McHenry, of all things, which can I say Sean McVay chose unwisely on that one? No offense to Diana Rossini, but if we're talking the 2015
I don't understand, Rick. He was the whole story was he was seeing them both.
Yes.
So,
but apparently he chose Rossini, and I think that was what in the end chose Rossini. So
I don't know that we know that he chose anybody. I think they were just bitter because they found out about each other.
Could be. So the guy going for the Ukrainian model or whatever that he ended up marrying. Clearly, this was a pattern for the guy with some of the flashier ladies out there. I will say this too: myself and FDH Lounge dignitary Ben Chu, like, both of us kind of agree in a weird kind of a way. Maybe this makes us sound like simps, but it's like, kind of feel a little bad for Diana Rossini because, like, I always liked that, like, she didn't take herself seriously. Always seemed like a guy's gal kind of a person.
Yeah, I agree with that. She's pleasant. I like listening to her.
It makes me feel badly in that sense, and badly that I'm getting the laughter that I am out of this because, like, I don't know, like, there are so many women in sports that, like, do take themselves excessively seriously and, like, I'm not going to go there.
Right.
Like, she was a good sport about stuff. Yeah. So it's like, it kind of sucks to be laughing about it, but it is what it is.
Always had the reputation as a cool chick, right?
That's it. That's what I would say.
And again, I don't think it's an issue for her. I mean, yeah, she shouldn't be out sleeping with married men, which obviously the Vrabel thing, he was married long before she was.
Yeah.
So
to me, that's
in
a
some
family
ways,
thing.
she
That's
started.
like take care of your house.
She was cheating on Vrabel with her husband.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's a terrible situation. It's terrible for Vrabel's family. It's certainly terrible for her husband. They clearly were engaged in a relationship for a long time. I mean, and look, McVay, hey, you were single. Rossini and McHenry were single at the time. You go, bro.
That's true.
So I mean, no rules being violated there. And even at the time by Diana, right? I mean,
a whole lot of media ethics things, but sure. So,
let me ask you something, guys.
No,
I mean,
no.
Joe,
No.
before we circle back to the actual picks, Joe, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, the Athletic backed her. Like, do you think she needed to resign? Like, was that the move? Like,
yeah, because like they found out that they got out over their skis believing her, so it was a thing.
Oh,
like,
God, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yeah, like this whole thing, like where were the other people? Like the other people.
That's funny. They never showed up.
Yeah, I mean, you're not allowed to cite imaginary friends as being, a thing here. So, that's the way that ended up going. All right, the couple of picks leading up to this one here, which is devastating to both Chris and Jason Jones. So Akeem Mesidor to the Chargers, Malachi Lawrence to Dallas. A little bit of a reach, I think it kind of seemed like, and Casey Concepcion, a pick that if this means anything to you, Joe. Going back 10 years, Chris and I were making the preemptive comparison to Corey Coleman, who the Browns took in the first round.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
As far as being a short guy that may or may not be able to stand up to the physicality and play at a consistent enough level. And I will say this too, you know what? And you're the right guy to talk to about this being a Philly guy, because a guy who had I think an excellent career overall, but who I never thought of as a classic number one, because I thought of as being somewhat of an all or nothing kind of a guy, not completely, but a little bit of it, more than you would like, is Deshaun Jackson. Yes. A guy at his size who just like to me, that's the peak of probably what Concepcion can be. And I don't know, you would know better than us, Joe. I mean,
Jackson
that
can catch a football?
Okay, there's that. Yeah.
Deshaun Jackson, the knock on him, and I always laughed at this, is he was a one-trick pony. It was a pretty damn good trick. No one could catch him. I mean, he had breathtaking speed, and he could catch the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't advise dropping the ball at the one on his first touchdown on Monday Night Football in Dallas, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, he did have a nice career. And he was a threat anytime he was on the field to score from anywhere. And the whole Chip Kelly thing when they whacked him, and he was a good soldier, and that hit piece came out about him being related to gang. It was a shame because he got banged up a little bit here, and I think it was unwarranted, but he was a good soldier, and he was, for his size. I mean, Dante Robinson of the Falcons broke him in half one day in a game, and I don't know how he bounced back from that. Like, it was like the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. His legs were over here, his torso was over there. And, he's 165 pounds soaking wet, but tough guy. But again, you couldn't catch him. The trick was, it was elite speed. I don't know about, this Davey Concepcion guy, what kind of speed he has. But Deshaun Jackson played in the NFL for as many years as he did because he was hard to catch.
Exactly. And the odds of him making it to that level, again, I think are probably pretty slim. Since we are at the moment talking about a Browns draft pick and something in the Cleveland area here, let's take a moment here to bring up next segment here, brought to you by Raining for Hope. Raining for Hope is operating on the most innovative level for folks needing psychological soothing. In the Woodgate Farms Estate Homes in Northeast Ohio, you will find a supremely cutting-edge approach to a variety of mental health issues. It's equine therapy, a powerful and soothing form of treatment that is completely experiential. You will find best-in-class support in a peaceful setting that will help get you back to where you need to be. Find them on the web at rainingforhope.org. So, and I would say, natural segue here, that there might be a lot of Browns fans in need of a little bit of soothing treatment right now, Chris Galloway. I mean, it might be a timely kind of a reference here as far as folks. I know Jason Jones, from what you and I just saw on the text thread here, he could use something a little soothing at the moment, which He, which by the way, and Jason being a very, very busy guy on draft night, he is attending to other draft oriented needs here. We may catch him before the end of the show. We may not, but yeah, he weighed in with that one. He made sure to weigh in on that one, Chris, because it was one where he went out of his way ahead of time to say, this is not what he wanted.
Said it 1,000 times, and you saw my reaction just now. You talk about one guy that I absolutely had my foot in the dirt on not wanting, and like a tractor beam of idiocy, the Browns zeroed right in on him. I mean, literally one guy that I was like, absolutely not. The opposite of at all costs. Take this guy no matter what. Take this guy. Don't take this guy no matter what. The one guy that I was screaming that they went and took.
Yeah. And I think unfortunate for them because, I mean, technically it's going to count as filling a need at wide receiver. But again, this whole thing, we've talked about this here. There's filling needs, and then there's filling needs in a little bit more of a legitimate kind of a way. And you and I talked about this when we were doing the divisional previews last year, Chris. When you look at a team like the Patriots, and yes, they were 1 gazillion% a product of the schedule, making the Super Bowl here, worst schedule in a decade that they ended up playing. But we talked about this, that like they filled a lot of holes the year before quietly in the offseason, but with more functional type players. But this past offseason, last year, upgraded in some of those areas. And so there's filling holes, but there's then doing it in a more substantial way, which the Patriots did. I'm afraid what the Browns just did there, Chris, is the former example and not the latter.
Stupid. You have Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
I mean,
is he better than him even, right? Is he better than Isaiah Bond?
I don't know that. I don't think he is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Isaiah Bond because of what happened to him in the offseason. You signed a guy that was probably going to be a second or third rounder, right? Isaiah Bond. Similar skill set, right? But we actually saw it. I mean, Bond can catch the football.
Yeah.
And there goes Thieneman. What a great pickup by the Bears.
Can I ask a question here?
Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just going to ask you something. Go ahead.
I think I know the answer. I'm not, obviously tied into the Browns issues and what they have going on. But who's slinging it next year for the Browns? Is Shedeur like the presumptive number 1 quarterback?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think he kind of has to be because they know that going to Watson is sort of a last ditch kind of a thing. It's moderately surprising to me they didn't bring in another veteran option here, just because it is going to be so poisonous. I mean, look, there's a part of me that is just like, the part of me that is just, the darkest parts of me, as it were, that like if Shedeur Sanders happened to be a little banged up at the start of the season and Watson starts the opener, just seeing him get booed off the field right at this, like, that would be like, this is what makes life worth living. You know what I mean? This is just, I might have to light a cigarette if that happens. You know what I mean? So on that basis,
what's the deal with Deshaun Watson? Is he just not 100%? Like, is he still injured? Is he still banged up? Why is he?
I buy Chris's theory. I think a lot of it's in his head. I think he wasn't cut out for coming here under adverse circumstances. I think Chris, when he said about being mentally weak previously, and I think Chris nailed it.
I think that's part of it. And I think that subsequently we learned that, even in like year, 2 and 3 in the league, people that, reportedly after the fact talked about him in camp, and he'd still be looking at the sidelines at Bill O'Brien like he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing in a particular situation. I think there's the confidence mentally shot, and then I think there is a real question that has to be asked of, can he process intellectually anything he's looking at?
Yeah.
We saw it with the Browns when he was fine at times when the play broke down and he didn't have to be in structure.
Right.
He could backyard ball, right?
Right.
When you asked him to play in structure and you asked him to, to read the defenses, he looked lost.
Yeah. No,
I think
that's
that was a part of his. I think those are two things, and they both speak to weak mental capacity.
yes.
And I think that's really the problem. To answer your question, Joe, he's back. He's healthy. He's in mini camp right now. He physically he looks fine. Ball bounce, comes right, zips right off his hand.
Really?
He looks pretty mobile, running around.
You're going to
He
give him
looks
an
fine
opportunity to
physically.
compete for the starting job?
I don't
Listen,
think so.
I think he's going to be the starter. I know Rick is
Really?
like, oh, he might be, blah. I think he's going to be.
I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. And I just didn't think.
I say that because, I mean, say what you will. I mean, yes, they're paying him all the money, right?
Yeah.
But he's at least performed at one time at a high level in the league.
He did.
Shedeur never has. What we saw out of Shedeur last year was bad.
Was a Pro
I know
Bowl
people are like,
season.
oh, potential. It was awful.
Was it that bad? Was it that bad?
I mean, he was one of the worst rookie statistical performances in NFL history.
I mean, he was a step up. This whole thing.
He was Jamarcus Russell good.
Ouch.
I mean, I will say this, that there's something that I'd heard years ago, and I'd used this to make a previous football analogy of a real ugly hooker that would have an even uglier parrot on her shoulder. Well, Dylan Gabriel was the parrot on his shoulder. Coming in after Dylan Gabriel, he was at least better than him. So there was that. But Dylan Gabriel was what they do? Like Cody Carlson, I think, wasn't he like a third round pick under Hugh Jackson of you take a guy as a third round pick that everybody else knows is just a career backup. Dylan Gabriel never should have been drafted in that spot there. Sanders, better than him, but that says basically nothing. What I wanted to, and so we now have a subsequent pick.
Everybody likes to trash Dylan Gabriel. I am not one who is willing to say Sanders is better than Gabriel because we don't have any evidence that that's the case.
Higher ceiling, though.
None.
Higher ceiling. You'd have to admit that, right? Higher ceiling. Dylan Gabriel's ceiling is,
okay,
the crack
higher
of my
ceiling.
doorway.
That's just unrealized potential. The same thing that I questioned about Shedeur that I will say is I have no belief in his ability to process at all.
Okay.
I see a guy who can't make decisions quickly, doesn't go through his reads, you name it.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, by the way.
So when I see a guy like that, it tells me that he doesn't have a ceiling.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, he's big. He's a pretty accurate thrower, can throw it down the field, but when you can't read a defense,
yeah,
and you don't understand your playbook,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Well, interestingly here, the couple of picks since then, just now Houston taking Keon Rutledge, guard from Georgia Tech. They upgrade their offensive line, which was very much needed. The previous one, Joe, I want to ask you about this. Dylan Tiedemann, the safety from Oregon, going to the Bears. It's a thing where, again, I know that your Eagles encountered the Bears last year, memorably. And that the Bears, to me, were a team that was kind of playing above their heads. There's a little bit of the sugar high that you sometimes get with a first-year head coach of where they're not really there yet, and maybe the schedule the non-divisional schedule anyways might have helped with where they were. But quietly over the offseason, as far as filling holes and getting to a place that they're in right now, they only really had, to me, a couple of holes to fill in the draft. One of them was secondary, certainly either spot in the secondary. And again, our Jason Jones, who does our player ratings in our draft guide, he had pronounced that he thinks that Tiedemann is, going back to Caleb Downs, he said, I think Downs is the best safety prospect since 2022 with Kyle Hamilton, so even better than Nick Emanwari. And he's got Tiedemann being on par with Amenwari, which to me is a mouthful when you look at that. A guy who as a rookie might have been the greatest glue player on a historically great defense. So, I mean, you take a guy like Tiedemann, if we're going to take that at anywhere approaching face value, and you put him on that Bears defense to try to help pull everything together and be a guy who can make everybody around him even better, that's got to be something scary for the other superpowers in the NFC, I would say, including Philadelphia.
Yeah, that was not good. That was a Black Friday game, and they got waylaid. DeAndre Swift and the 7th round pick from Hawaii, they just ran all over the Eagles. That was a pretty embarrassing game. Caleb Williams had a decent day. You're right. I think that they were kind of playing above their heads, and they pulled some stuff out. Give them credit, but I think they need help defensively. DJ Moore was a little curious to me. Losing him, but and GJ did a nice job there last year with the Bears, but their defense was 24th in the league heading into the playoffs. I mean, I don't know a team that's going to make a lot of noise with that kind of defense, but they did a nice job, I thought.
Yeah,
in the offseason with some of their moves, and Caleb Williams, he got a lot better. He got a lot listen. If you can deal with some of the bad stuff, and you will, because some of the good stuff's really good. When you watch some of this, that throw he made against Green Bay on a 4th and 8, and he dropped it in, ridiculous. And then he throws, then he Donovans it a little bit. They'll throw balls at your feet once in a while. But he's in Ben Johnson's system. He's learned how to be more structured, and I was surprised they had so much success last year. But again, the problem was really their defense. And I do like this kid from Oregon. And I think they were a mess a couple years ago, if you remember. And I don't know if you remember that story that came out about how dysfunctional they were. And Ryan, I'm sorry, the GM, his name escapes me. But he was so dialed in on Caleb Williams, and he kind of dismissed everybody else. And that was his guy. And then, the first year didn't go that well. They turned the program around pretty quickly. Bringing Ben Johnson in, and what a difference a legitimate leader of men can make. Because not all coordinators can be head coaches. I know that we think that they can, or a lot of GMs think that they can. They're always plucking the Eagles' offensive and defensive coordinator rooms. But
that's right. Yeah,
Jalen Hurts has had 10 different offensive coordinators in the last 10 years. I mean, it's different verbiage every year, different system every year. I don't blame him for being annoyed if he is annoyed. I think a lot of that stuff, and I know I'm getting off on a tangent, has been ridiculous because his record, his winning percentage is like 68 in the league.
Yep.
8th in the league in passing yards since he's come here, 3rd in the league in touchdowns. And he's won a Super Bowl, and if he doesn't fumble that ball in the Super Bowl 57, he probably wins another one and outduels Patrick Mahomes again. He's a guy who plays well, when the lights are bright. He had some issues last year, and he really looked off with some things. And but it's hard, it's hard to criticize because so many things happen on each play in an NFL game. You don't know if the receiver broke off a route or if someone missed a block, or, there's a lot of things that go on that it's not always Jalen's fault. But
no,
I do think that he had some issues getting rid of the ball. And I do think that he does not. I mean, Nick Sirianni changed the whole system and said, we're not turning the ball over after the bye week 2 years ago, when they won the Super Bowl. They were 2-2. They just got smoked by Tampa. And he basically said, which is interesting. You have, which some people think, and it's debatable. I don't keep putting labels on guys. An elite quarterback, and you cut down his passing attempts. He threw the ball 33 times a game, down to 21. But listen, he had 9 turnovers after 4 games, and a couple of them were fumbles. He had 2 turnovers the rest of the way, and that's how they won. And I do think that he almost takes it a little too far. He's a little too conservative. He doesn't, I know he doesn't have a Donovan arm or a John Elway arm, but he could probably throw guys open a little bit more. And his timing is a little off. You notice so many times he drops back, doesn't see anything on maybe his first or second read, rolls to his right, and then throws it into like row 5. He does that a lot, waste plays. But but it worked because they stopped turning the ball over. And I don't know if you ever listened to me bloviate and fill the airwaves with my nonsense. But I always talk about how turnovers are the killer. I mean, aside from the actual score, to me, it's the most important stat on the stat sheet. Turnovers. You protect the football, you're going to be in good shape, and they did that. I mean, it was tough to watch. I mean, watching reruns of C-SPAN would have been more stimulating than watching that offense. It was that bad, and I'm not kidding. Every week, get in front of the TV. All right, let's see. Let's go back to that. Let's see if Saquon can bust some things off, or no. I mean, he's getting hit behind the line. Like 3, 4, 5 yards. Kevin Batula's running the same play.
Right. It
was really, really tough. It was a tough one. Even the games they won. Listen, I get it. And Nick comes out, says the right things. You survive in advance. You win, and then you fix things, and you try to do better next week. Okay, they did win some games. Close. They were gut wrenching to watch. It was really tough to watch that offense this year.
Yeah, it was a hard watch, no question.
It was a hard watch, and it came. At the end of the day, it kind of came back. Everything. You're not going to get away with that. And losing to a banged up San Francisco team at home, your first playoff game in your title defense, and Brock Purdy turned the ball through 2 interceptions, and I'm not sure if the Eagles they might have had 1, but usually, again, turnovers in a playoff game. It's so extremely rare to be on the wrong side of that and win the game. And they were banged up, and George. The tight ends, Kittle, left the game. I mean, they were so banged up, and they still won. I mean, it was a kind of a fitting way to end the season. I think that's why people. I mean, lest we forget, he was a Super Bowl MVP, 15 months ago, and everything was great around here. The defense was number 1 in the league, and they lost so many guys on defense in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Everyone that left. If you put those guys together, they would be a top 5 defense. Those guys would win everywhere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, credit to Vic Fangio for keeping things together. And, there were some games, like the Bears game was a disgrace, but they got better and they got tighter as the season went on. Their defense held them in some games because their offense really couldn't do much. So, it was a tough watch. But
Well, and as far as I want to get Chris's thoughts here on Tiedemann to the Bears, and we've had some trades that have happened sort of rapid fire here, but I want to give a quick mention here. Next segment brought to you by Pullens Law. Based in Central Ohio, Pullens Law operates on a philosophy of innovation that is also accessible financially. Company founder Scott Pullens implemented a system that provides excellent guidance in a variety of categories: small business, families and individuals, and government-related issues. Find them on the web at PullensLaw.com. So, Chris, we'll start with Tiedemann. Your thoughts on him going to the Bears? I think that's exactly what they need as a team that's still in sort of the embryonic stages of building up the defense for this run that they're trying to go on here. And in that division of all divisions, I think it's a home run move for them.
Love the pick. I wanted him for the Browns. I think it's, to your point, it's exactly what the Bears need. It's exactly what they're missing on the back end. He's going to be huge for them because of the size and the speed and the tackle ability and the flexibility and what you can do with him. I just think that's a home run for the Bears. That's a great pick.
I think it is as well. I agree with that. We've had some picks that have come in pretty rapid fire. The way that this is progressing, and again, it's not even just the 8-minute time limit now. It's the fact that they're moving the picks well within the 8 minutes. Yeah. I had sadly predicted at the beginning of the night, because I'm sure this is audible to folks here, of I'm coming down with something. This is the day before, like, it really hits me, but when you, like, start to lose your voice, and I'm like, I'm going to sound like dying stages Marlon Brando by the time this is done. And it looks like I'm on pace to defy those sad expectations based on the way that this is moving. The picks that have come in here, we've had some trades that have happened here. Miami ends up moving up in a deal with San Francisco to take Chris Johnson, the cornerback from San Diego State. I'm not exactly sure how much value there is necessarily with that pick, but certainly cornerback, one of the copious needs that my Fish have. So there is that. Caleb Lomu, the offensive tackle from Utah, going to New England by way of a trade from Houston by way of Buffalo. So, Chris, I'll start with you. Thoughts on either one of those two picks? I mean, they're definitely fulfilling positions of need for both teams, if nothing else.
You look at the cornerback from San Diego State. I like him. I don't know why expend capital to move up if you're the Dolphins.
Precisely.
Unless they thought someone for sure was jumping in there. But I don't know that they had to do that. But there was a big gap until they're, on when they were going to get the pick. So, again, I mean, at least another 10, 12 picks it was going to be.
Yeah. And you get the fifth year on them. So there's that. Yeah.
The Patriots, with Lomu, I mean, is he a Patriots pick or what?
Yep.
Here's my question. He was a left tackle at Utah. He needs to put on some weight and get some strength. Is he going to replace your left tackle from last year?
They're admitting defeat. Yes. Will Campbell's getting moved to right tackle. I mean, they watched the Super Bowl.
You think Will Campbell goes to right tackle?
Yep.
Because, I mean, man, he got exposed in the playoffs pretty bad.
Yeah, and he didn't have a great year to begin with. Holy crap. Peter Woods falls all the way to the Chiefs. Like, this is a thing where, at the beginning of the year, I'm not so sure that we would have thought that Peter Woods would have fallen to the Chiefs at 6 or 9. Of course, the Chiefs trading up from 6 or from 9 to 6, and getting him here. Wow, you add him to that Kansas City defense again. Kind of a gap year for this team. Looking to come back after this. I'll start with you, Chris. Thoughts on this, on being able to plug him in. A real buy low on where this guy's career was.
There are front offices that just know how to draft.
Mm-hmm.
In Kansas City with Andy Reid, they know how to draft.
Yeah.
And again, I'll use the Browns as an example. Loved how it started. Liked the trade down. Liked Fano. And then it all went wrong.
Yeah.
The Chiefs just know how to draft, man. That's all there is to it. They know how to identify talent, and they know how to move the board to get what they need. And they do it year after year. It's a lot like you see out of Baltimore, drafts well.
Yeah.
Some franchises some organizations they know how to work the draft, and the Chiefs are one of them.
Well, and I will say also, too, Joe, another one of them obviously is Philly, but something that we complain about a lot in Cleveland, as we did earlier tonight, was the luck that the Ravens have year after year after year of guys falling to them that shouldn't necessarily fall to them. To a certain extent, I think that's happened with the Eagles as well, particularly some of the players that they've gotten from the SEC who have fallen to them. In a way, this kind of feels almost like an Eagles type of pick here, with Woods falling to the Chiefs here in this spot. He shouldn't have necessarily been there at this point, probably shouldn't have been. The Chiefs jump on him. And again, as an Eagles fan, this has to look familiar because that's happened a number of times with the Eagles in recent years where you're sitting there like, how exactly did this guy fall to us?
I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, Jalen Carter, because of that incident, they had to trade up with Chicago, 1 pick. They got the kid from Alabama last year.
Oh, yeah, the linebacker. Yeah.
What's the Holy War? What's the Holy
War? Jihad, yeah. Jihad
Thank
Campbell.
you, yeah. So his name escapes me. But
should have gone to Sean McDermott.
Another good pick. He fell to 30 because he had some injury issues, and he played well his rookie year. Andy can build a team. You know, he was here 14 years, and I used to hammer him for some of the dumb things he did, but he can build a team. I mean, that team was 2-14 when he took over, and they were 11-5 the next year. Same thing here. He can put a team together pretty quickly, and he can do it in free agency, and not afraid to, you know, take the big swings, get rid of Tyreek Hill. They still won 2 Super Bowls after that. The big question is what's going on with Patrick Mahomes and his knee. I mean, is he gonna when's he coming back? I know that he's on schedule and whatnot, but that's still, even when you're 100%, takes a while for your confidence to have confidence in that leg to do the things you used to do with it. And so that might, if anyone could do it, it's Patrick Mahomes, but they really needed to upgrade a lot of things last year. I know Pacheco's with the Lions now, and they got the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, that was a phenomenal move.
Yeah.
To solidify their running game. And the pick that just fell to them, sometimes you got to, it's better to be lucky than good, but Andy really knows what they're doing. Same with Brett Beach, the GM. Those guys, they know what they're doing. Yep. I mean, they targeted Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he didn't set the world on fire, at least from a wins-loss perspective in college. But man, they honed in on him, and I mean, then they went up 17 spots to get him in the draft, and that's a game changer. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. And no offense, guys, but I know the Browns have had trouble finding that guy. The Jets haven't had a guy since Namath ran into the Orange Bowl tunnel doing this, you know, in Super Bowl III. You don't have that guy. Nothing else really matters. You can win with an elite defense. Okay, listen, I know we talk about Trent Dilfer. We talk about Brad Johnson. They played with elite defenses, and they were good. I hate to use game.
Brad Johnson was really good that year. Yeah, like Brad Johnson was really good that year. He was an above-average quarterback who played at a top level that year.
Really good. He was
like the Joe Flacco playoffs level a decade later. Flacco just did it in the playoffs. Brad Johnson did it for the whole season.
He did. Yeah. Flacco 11 touchdowns, no picks that year. And he still, he has his phone with him on the couch every offseason, and someone gives him a call and he comes in.
Right.
And plays pretty well. He played pretty well for you guys. Local guy, went to Delaware, U of Delaware. I have some friends that know him pretty intimately. Good, really good dude. Mm-hmm. And he's got a ring and whatnot. But like the Chiefs needed a lot of help. I won't say they were as bad of a watch as the Eagles were, but they were a tough watch. That offense was really tough. And they had Patrick Mahomes, and they had a rotation of receivers that not one real standout like a Tyreek Hill or whatever. But I mean, Andy did that when he was here. I mean, it took him a while to kind of come around to, all right, we need an elite receiver. They had James Thrash and Todd Pinkston, and it was brutal until T.O. got here, and then that whole thing blew up down it. But anyway.
That's right.
Andy is very good at putting a team together, and I don't know how long he wants to coach. Probably as long as Patrick Mahomes wants to play. I mean, would you really give that up? I mean, he coached when was it practice the day after his kid died. I mean, it's probably therapeutic, I guess, in a way, but he lives to coach, and
that's kind of a dark note.
I kind of thought it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, his kids were getting in all kinds of trouble. I think one of them was in jail because the night before a Super Bowl a few years ago, he got in an accident, drunk driving. He was on Andy's staff. I think he's in jail right now. It's a shame. Like, what are you guys doing? And the judge admonished both of them, Andy and Tammy, for not having more structure supervision, because they were both drug dealers and both spent some time in the Hoosgow.
Yeah.
And were given opportunities to coach, to be on the staff, and it's a shame some guys throw it away. But anyway, that was real. I thought that was odd. His son died, and he coached the next day. He was at practice the next day.
Yeah.
He never missed a practice.
Yeah.
He's very dedicated. And I don't know how they do it. These guys coach they're working 22 hours a day.
They do.
You know what I mean? Like Belichick was 70. Not much more he could do in the NFL. And then he goes, you're that bored? You have to go put together a program, and that's a lot of work. I'm pretty tired. I'm not 60 yet. These guys, it's just I give them a lot of credit, but I think the Chiefs they're going to have a bounce back year. It really comes down to Patrick Mahomes and his health, but I do like what they've done, and I think Andy and Brett Beach do a very nice job with their selections and how to play the game.
So you got, I agree with your points there, Joe. Omar Cooper Jr., Chris, who you wanted to go to the Browns, ends up going to the Jets with the 30th pick here. So as they flashed on the TV with Sadiq and Bailey, at the very least, 3 guys who really know how to win, if nothing else, as first-round picks for the Jets, the kind of foundational players that you really want to get in that spot there.
The Jets
Tennessee.
are doing, I think the Jets are doing a nice job. They're having a good draft.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're getting Bailey is a polished, defensive end who's ready to go now. Sadiq is a beast, and they get another, a pass catcher to go along with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
So I like what the Jets are doing. The Jets are putting in critical building blocks to be ready for next year when they go in to get their quarterback.
They really are. The Jets ending up, again, that was a trade from San Francisco via Miami and Denver. Tennessee, it's a flurry of draft trades late here. Tennessee, a trade from Buffalo via New England, and ends up being Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher from Auburn, who ends up dropping. So once again, I'll start by asking you, Chris, like your thoughts on that. Falk could have gone a lot higher than this, I thought.
It was a desperate need for the Titans. They needed a defensive end pass rusher in the worst way, and it was a pick of obvious need for them that they had to go get someone of his ilk to rush the passer. So that was an obvious need pick for them.
Yeah, as I said before, kind of a stealth, really good offseason for them. So coming in at this point here, for any viewers of the old WCW Monday Nitro, Gene Okerlund would refer to as the shank of the evening. So now that we're into the shank of the evening, our great friend from the West Coast, from his perch in Portland, Ben Chu, coming in here. So Ben, overall thoughts?
I was delayed, my friend. I just want to make sure I came in at the tail end.
Yes.
But this has been a fantastic NFL draft this timeline.
Okay. What are your sort of headline thoughts as far as what you've seen this evening?
I mean, one of the bigger things I did, obviously Mendoza went overall #1, but one thing I would also say too is like Caleb Downs going to Dallas at 12 is
without a trade
scenario.
No trade necessary.
I know, no trade necessary. No. As you can guess, I have a lot of friends from Dallas in that timeline, but I would also say is at least I know the Seahawks pick is coming up right now, but they're trying to shore up either their offensive line or their DBs in this timeline where they're more focused because they lost a lot of the guys in this timeline.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways that they're going to go with some of their post-Super Bowl losses that they've had in the offseason here. And again, Joe, as you alluded,
Seattle taking that guard from Texas A&M.
From A&M? Okay, because I got them taking Avery Terrell, cornerback from Clemson. Jason has them taking Colton Hood, cornerback from Tennessee. So could still do that. Cassius Howell, edge rusher from A&M. I believe he's still on the board. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways they could go. So Joe, I know that this is something where, again, a year ago it was the Eagles getting picked over. The whole notion of when you're the Super Bowl champion, getting picked over in free agency and coming into the draft. That's the spot that Seattle's in. They, with John Schneider, like Howie Roseman, I think poised to come back the same way that Philly has from this. And I know that Philly didn't make that deep of a run in the playoffs this past year, but they were a strong contender. So this is the notion that happens when you win the Super Bowl, Joe, is that you are going to get teams coming after your guys.
Yeah, you get poached. I mean, the whole whole infrastructure, and maybe it's not a bad thing because they struggled last year in a lot of areas, but the whole new team coming in terms of, offensive. I mean, Vic Fangio, he almost left. Look,
Yeah.
Jeff Stoutland is a Mount Rushmore guy, Hall of Fame coach, and that was weird. And I said this even the year they won the Super Bowl. They are the most successful, dysfunctional team I've ever seen. They're incredibly noisy, but that's kind of how they do it. And then it's not a problem as long as you're winning. Winning cures all. But this year they were noisy again, and there was some things that they were even noisier than the year before, and they didn't have the success they had last year. So that's when things fall apart, and finger pointing and locker room issues and stories get out. But yeah, I know Sal Powell likes to stay away from that word. No, they're dysfunctional. I mean, in a weird way, because they're incredibly successful. Nick Sirianni, I mean, he's like second in win percentage in his first 5 years to some guy named Lombardi, second or third. Like that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And no one knows what he does, and he still gets criticized because no one really knows what he does.
Right.
He walks around, he checks in on meetings, and I don't know, gets coffee for guys. I don't know. But what he does is he wins. And same with Jalen Hurts. So it's kind of amazing that there's so much negativity surrounding the team. I mean, listen, it's a football town, and it's religion around here. And they're coming off a championship year. They tried to run it back. Okay. It's hard to repeat. It's so difficult. A lot of things happen. You get coached. Look at Seattle. They lost their Super Bowl MVP running back. They're picking 32nd. It's tough. Not many teams repeat, but we'll see. Howie's done pretty well. I know he's hard on himself for some of the first round. Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Really, I mean, I could have told him that when he did that. I mean, Minnesota was laughing at him when he did that, but bounced back pretty quickly. Traded up, got Devontae. He fixes his mistakes pretty quickly, and he learns from them. And listen. I think they had a rough offseason, losing a lot of guys, but I know that he had to work the money situation. And now I've completely flipped on AJ Brown, with them taking a receiver at 20, going up to get a receiver at 20. It looks like AJ Brown's, days here are numbered, and whatever they'll get from New England, but it's going to be down the road. So we'll see.
Joe, I will say, as far as you being a Philly media legend and having a sense of timing here, you not only made very good points, but you, by talking as you were during the stretch here when the Seattle pick was made, you saved me from burying myself, because the guy that comes out to make the pick for Seattle, before I could even say, who is this goof who's gesticulating at the crowd and whatever, come to find out he's a Make-A-Wish kid. So you saved me from myself on that one, Joe. So thank you.
I do my best.
And then they made a Make-A-Wish pick.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Jadarian Price, to get the second best running back in the draft, ironically the second best running back in his own team in college. But again, I think that's an excellent pick, because again, let us not forget that, at the beginning of the season, you got, the one's gone and the two is still down with injury. So you've got a situation with Seattle where I think it's plug and play. If you disagree, Chris, please expound on that.
I just thought they could have dropped back and gotten him tomorrow.
I don't know. I think that's about where he was priced, to be honest with you.
Really? I mean, it feels high to me, but maybe I'm off. I'll admit if I'm wrong. It just felt high to me. That's all.
Well, we're into this spot now where, again, end of the first, beginning of the second is really kind of interchangeable. I mean, just based on the fact that so many teams were willing to trade back into the second round. So it's like, if you're Seattle, at the very least, Chris, again, having that massive hole that you're going to have, especially at the beginning of the season, because who knows how long it's going to take Charbonnet to come back. And again, he's best off in the secondary role. Yeah, you don't really want to have to promote him just because you have to. Does that part of it make any sense to you? Of if you having Price in there?
I mean, again, I understand the need on the pick. I just thought he was a guy that you could have gotten. You didn't have to get so high. I mean, I kind of saw him as being again, this was just me.
Okay.
I saw him being mid to late second round. I didn't think you needed to grab him so high. But again, it's a lot like we talk about. It's about value where you pick them versus your need versus, and you've heard me say this, I don't hate picks that if they work out just because you picked them in a place where, someone says, oh, that wasn't the best value. It's like, well, if it works out, doesn't that just sort of make the whole value point moot? Because
Absolutely, totally agree with that. You
Yeah.
don't know value
You know,
until like the guy
and so
plays.
to your point, Rick, you're high on him. So I mean, there's a point where their need is there, and if he works out in the value, doesn't matter if I thought he should have been taken, 48.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
Exactly.
irrelevant.
Here's what I think. Same production as Walker, but on a rookie contract. So I think that's a win for them. Also, the fact that they do it at 32 rather than in the second round, get them for the 5th year. And that's the thing. If you're Seattle, if you're on this run, it's one more year before some other looky-loo in the league can pinch him away from you. And like, he's our guy now. Well, now they're going to have to wait for one more year to pull that crap on Seattle.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Because you're only one pick away from doing the whole 4-year kind of a deal. So having reached the end of the first round, I want to get some sort of macro level thoughts from you guys as we bring it full circle. And I will do the same with Ben. If we get Ben tonight appears to, it's almost as though, I know the show hasn't been on the air on Comedy Central for like 20 years, but I was getting the sense that Ben was an extra on Dave Attell's Insomniacs tonight from the streets of Portland, based on how we were catching him there. So, there he is. I don't know if he was on to catch my Dave Attell reference here, back from the streets of Portland and back from a mid-2000s episode of Insomniacs, Ben Shue. So I want to get some macro level thoughts from you guys on the draft here tonight. I will start with you, Joe.
To be my favorite pick was what the Cardinals did at number 3, Jeremiah Love. I mean, my goodness, the kid over 6 yards of carry. I mean, I think Miami got into the playoffs because they shut him down pretty well in the opener in August. But after that, Jeremiah Love was untouchable. If you watch the USC game, I mean, so I like what they did. And I know he wasn't maybe projected to go that high to the Cards and taking a running back there. Like Saquon Barkley was taken at number 2. He worked out for us, not so much for the Giants, but a lot of Ohio State, Miami, got a lot of the big schools, really fed into this draft. If you look, like Ohio State had 4 guys go, I think, in the top 12. Miami had 3 in the top 15. Ty Simpson, I thought, was an interesting pick, higher than I thought he would go. I thought he was going to be a late first. I thought that was to me, that was a little stunning. And look, Mendoza, you can't argue with 16-0. And I know I hear some guys say he didn't need to make some of the throws you'd like to maybe see him make. So it's hard to necessarily evaluate him when you don't have all the information. But the guy's a winner. I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL, but 16-0, and in succession, I think they beat Ohio State, they beat Oregon twice, they beat Miami. He did everything he had to do. Yeah. If I see that damn quarterback draw against for that touchdown against my squad, my head's gonna explode. It's like watching the Hail Flutie every year. Yeah. It's the Miami squad. But anyway, I don't know what he says the right things. Seems like a great kid, winner. I mean, the Raiders needed a quarterback. They were a mess last year. So and I like what they did in the offseason too. I thought the Raiders had a really nice offseason, and they got Mendoza and
Lindbaum. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as for the Eagles, looks like it's bye for AJ. And I was probably the last person here hanging on to the fact that I didn't think, because Howie doesn't want to, I believe what he says. He's a great player, and you don't want to just give away great players. They're not that easy to come by.
Right.
But again, I'm not in that. It's not the NovaCare anymore. It's the Jefferson Health something or other. But
thanks for the update.
You got it. But if he's that unhappy and he's, what are you going to do? Like, the guy doesn't want to be here, then forcing him to be in a situation that his heart's not really into.
Right.
It's not a good situation. So it's disappointing because that offense 2 years loaded. I mean, Devontae's Heisman winner. A.J. Brown they plucked from Tennessee and got that GM fired on draft day a couple of years ago. They put together a nice Saquon, comes in as a free agent, just needed, they gave him a little bit more money, had a ridiculous year, and Jalen had a good year. And but the offensive line was the problem. And I know that because of the AJ situation, first of all, they have like 12 guys in the wide receiver room now. They just keep stockpiling wide receivers. But this one was legit. I mean, this guy, he's slotted to be the number 2, maybe even this year. I know he's like more of a slot receiver, but a lot of places had him as the number 1 wide receiver prospect, which I thought was interesting because I do like the kid from Arizona State. But you're right. Seattle, listen, I mean, they're going to have a tough time, repeating, and there's a lot of, again, the quarterbacks, everything. Look at Minnesota, because of money, they let Sam Darnold go, and they were a mess this year.
Right.
And he goes on and he wins a Super Bowl. Like guys, when you when you find what you've been looking for, which is every team needs a franchise quarterback, you stop looking. You don't. JJ McCarthy?
That's right.
He didn't throw a pass in the Penn State game in the second half.
Right.
And I know that's because they ran, Blake Corum ran all over them, but you really backed your horse with JJ McCarthy. Okay, Sam Darnold. I know. Look, the Rams boat raced him, but I mean, that was an offensive line issue. And I know he's had some problems in big games with the turnovers, but he goes and wins another 14 games in Seattle. And he was great in the playoffs. And I know they dumbed some of it down a little bit, but in that Rams game, some of those throws he made, Cooper Kupp late in that game, he was phenomenal. In the Super Bowl, he's confident. I ran him. He wasn't on my squad, but when he was with the Jets, I was like, couldn't believe this guy's not long for this league, and I never thought he would have won a Super Bowl. And it tells you something. Kid's got character. But anyway, I did think, Chris, to follow up on what you said, I thought the Jets had a pretty good draft, and I agree with what you're saying about value. Okay, so maybe other teams don't find that guy value at that spot, but if you do and he works out for your team, that's all that matters.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and usually I know that we put grades on these drafts, but it takes about 3 years to go back, and it's all a crapshoot anyway. Even first round, only half of them make it in the first round. And I thought this was a very top heavy draft, like with the Ohio State guys, the Miami guys, top 15. But again, my favorite pick was Jeremiah Love at number 2. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with that team. And that team's a little, they got rid of Kyler Murray. They have, who's their quarterback now?
It's going to be, what's his nuts?
I forgot.
Brisket. Good old Brisket. It's Brisket's going to be the guy in Arizona.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. All right.
Yeah.
So
he might want to hold out, believe it or not. So.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are a team that can't get out of their own way. You know what I mean? Like.
Yep.
They had a chance to win a Super Bowl, and that got thwarted.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought the first, and it went quick. Rick, you're right. Like I was caught off guard a little bit. I was doing, prepping and doing some things, and I'm in the bathroom and I hear, "What's the 20th pick? The Philadelphia Eagles." I'm like, whoa, time out. But this is always fun. I appreciate coming on with you guys and listening to your perspectives on the other areas, especially Cleveland and some of the other areas, and your thoughts. And you always make great points, and I usually steal them and I put them in my articles.
Thank you. Great to have all of you guys. But before I bring in Ben for his closing thoughts here, a quick note here. This final segment brought to you by Caged Thunder MMA. Caged Thunder MMA is the shining beacon of the Midwest fight scene, bringing more than 30 years of experience, which is built on passion, grit, and respect for the competitors and the fans. Whether it's in person or on pay-per-view, Caged Thunder provides the early look at tomorrow's household names. Find them on the web at cagedthundermma.com. So with that said, Ben Shue from the streets of Portland here. Your thoughts, my man, on tonight's NFL draft?
I mean, I will say, Rick, even though I'm out in the world right now, this is a very interesting NFL draft. Jeremiah Love went relatively early. We saw Caleb Downs go to Dallas, so it's a very interesting NFL draft, just in overall timeline.
Oh, it definitely was, no question. Appreciate you being on as well, buddy. And Chris Galloway, you've been on here the longest with me here tonight, so want to get your thoughts on the draft. I concur with you on what you said about the Jets. I think I concur with you on what you've said about the Browns and a lot of the other observations. To Ben's point, again, Dallas not having to move up to get Downs, I think, is something we're going to look back on in the years to come as one of the noteworthy things.
Turns out they did. You and I were busy talking about previous picks. They did. They flipped with Miami. They did move up one
pick. You're okay, one, but only one. Okay, so I misspoke, but only one. That's not what you would have thought, right? You would have thought they would have had to at least go to 10 to get any of these studs, and they didn't.
No, that's right. They got a premium player by after 10, which is so great on them.
Yes.
I like what they did in the draft. Other teams that I liked what they did. I mean, the Titans. I love what the Titans did in round one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they really helped themselves. With Carnell Tate, I mean, that was something that they absolutely needed to do. And then with Falk, there were some people that thought Falk could even get into the top 10.
Yep.
Getting Tate and Falk in two positions that the Titans were desperate to improve. Great draft by them. And you know what's interesting to me when you look at this draft, especially this first round, we always hear about teams saying, well, you draft the best player, you don't draft for need, you don't draft for need. Look at this draft board. Most of these teams drafted need.
Sure.
I don't care what they say. There were a few that didn't draft need. Okay. The Giants didn't with Arvell Reese at 5.
Mm-hmm.
They clearly went with the best player on the board. They've already got like 4 defensive ends, and pretty good ones. They went and clearly they took the best player on their board.
Yeah.
I think they did it again at 10 with Mayoga for tackle. Again, a position that they want to strengthen, wasn't a desperate need. So again, I think the Giants did not draft for need. The Rams did not draft for need. But you go and you look at the Ravens, they drafted for need.
Yep.
The Browns did. The Commanders did. The Cardinals, you could argue, they already kind of had running backs, so maybe they just took the best player on the board. The Jets drafted for need. I mean, everybody else drafted for need. In a serious way.
Yeah.
Even the Texans guard, they desperately needed the guard position. Patriots had to fix their tackle. It goes on and on. I mean, most of these teams, despite what their rhetoric is, drafted for need. And so I think there's a lot to be learned there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to do one last screen share here in the course of the night because of what you just said, because it's a circumstance where in terms of coming into this, it doesn't have to be either or. Because again, from Pro Football Draftology 2026 and 2025, NFL teams went from an average of 7.78 holes per team prior to free agency to 6.1 holes per team going into the draft this year. Teams were started further behind the 8 ball with 8.91 holes per team, but there was a strong rally in free agency, knocking the number down to 6.96 holes per team. So you are still looking at, my rudimentary grasp of math tells me just shy of 7 holes per team. So it shouldn't be either or. I mean, it's a thing of like, you mean to tell me if you're the average team out there and you got 7 holes, you can't find something that corresponds to that? It doesn't have to be 1 or 2 or 3 even, but it should be something that because that's how you win in this league, is by filling those holes, and by, you want to come out of the off season with less holes than you had coming in. That should be the goal of every team out there. Again, unless they're tanking and they're in the Manning sweepstakes for 2027. So that's the thing, Chris, is that, like, I think a lot of times we get these demagogue discussions where it's like either or, and it's like most teams have a matrix of holes. Pick one and go there.
No, it's a valid point. I mean, 7 holes is a lot. And to your point, you're more likely than not to stumble into a person who plays one of those positions. But it was obvious to me that was, a lot of that rhetoric about, oh, we just take the best guy on the board. We don't worry about position or our needs. We just take the best guy. Well, it certainly doesn't look that way. Now, certainly at the top of the draft, one could argue, a lot of these guys where they went probably were either the first or second guy on their board. And again, I'm not finding fault with it. I think you're a GM and you're sitting there and you don't have a left tackle.
Yep.
And you have 2 guys that are graded very closely together, but one is a left tackle and one is a linebacker, and you took a linebacker in the 2nd round of last year who was Defensive Rookie of the Year. Do you take another linebacker, or do you go, all right, I have a very similar grade on these guys, and maybe the left tackle is graded slightly less by a 1/10 of a point, but I don't have a left tackle.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to take the left tackle, right?
Yeah.
So, again, to your point, I was just sort of commenting on, like, this sort of holier than thou. People say, no, never draft for need, but teams do it all day long.
No, they do. They do it all day long, and that's the thing where, again, it happens, and it's good when it happens because it generally aligns with what needs to be done. So I will just say again, and we just had Ben with his technical issues here dropped at the end, but we're at the end anyways here. So I want to say again, earlier on in the show, Russ Cohen starting off with me, and then Bob Glassman, and the guys here towards the end, the recently dropped Ben Chu, and of course Joe Stazak, Chris Galloway. Chris was with me here the vast bulk of the night. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Couldn't have done it without you, and this is what makes us, I think, what we are, being able to put together a show like this with the multiplicity of different perspectives like this. So I'm very, very grateful to get you guys in here and be a part of this thing. Couldn't do it without you.
Appreciate it, Rick. Always a pleasure, man. An honor coming on. Chris, good to see you too, bud. I guess Ben left, but always fun. I look forward to coming on with you all the time, Rick. Appreciate it.
Feelings mutual, Joe. Chris, thank you so much, buddy, too. I really appreciate it. And
couldn't let you go stretches alone, Rick. Had to be here with you.
Thank you. Glad to say I don't. I probably sound not great now, but I expected to sound like I was on my deathbed by the end of this thing, and so I've beat the point spread on that one.
You sound good, man. You sound good.
Well, thank you. I'm coming down with something. Yeah, I might have, and without any PEDs either. So doing it the honest way here. So I will need to have some energy here this weekend or beginning of next week for the post-draft thing here. Chris Galloway, Jason Jones, myself, we're going to have to put a bow on this thing as we always do. So we will figure out a time for that. But again, thank you to all who are a part of this here tonight, and most immediately here, Chris Galloway, Joe Stazak, who are with me. For these guys, Rick Morris saying thank you for joining us for our 2026 Pro Football FDH Draft Night 1 Extravaganza on the FDH Lounge.